Vavasol presents Pac-12 football, and some 54,000 plus have gathered in and around Autzen Stadium to see the first ever meeting between Georgia State and number 12 Oregon. Hello everyone, JB along with Evan Moore, and the story not only here in Eugene but across college football today. Vernon Adams will not be able to make this start, a broken index finger on his throwing hand, and Evan, that means that Jeff Lockie, who spent 2 years as the understudy to a Heisman Trophy winner, finally gets the nod.
Although we're not going to get a chance to see Vernon Adams get the much needed reps he needs in this offense today, coaches are very happy with the way he's progressed in this system, proven to be the leader they expected him to be when bringing him over from Eastern Washington. But today it's all about Jeff Lockie, a guy that we've seen or heard a lot about from spring football. Great leader on this team, served as a mentor to quarterback Marcus Mariota prior to Mariota's departure from Oregon, and has done a great job helping Vernon Adams come along in this system. They're very happy with what he's been able to do throughout the course of practice. Not a whole lot of game experience, which they're hoping to get from him today, but a guy that understands their system, gets the ball out quick because of that understanding of this system, and they expect a big day from here today from Jeff Lockie, and not much drop-off from what they were able to do with Vernon Adams offensively.
Their opponent, the Georgia State Panthers, coming off their first ever win over an FBS team, their first Sun Belt victory as well. That was last weekend against New Mexico State. Nick Arbuckle is back as their quarterback, and this is the program that had a 14-0 lead last season in Seattle against another Pac-12 program, Washington. He threw touchdown passes to Robert Davis and Keith Rucker, and all of those skill position players are back for more here in 2015. So what challenge does Arbuckle and the Panthers present to the Oregon defense?
Well, Nick Arbuckle, a guy that's had so much success throwing the ball in Jeff Jagodzinski's system, and he's a guy that had coming off a performance against New Mexico State of 372 yards. Unfortunately for him, he'll face an Oregon secondary today that has struggled to defend the pass. They've allowed 315 yards per game through the air. So if Georgia State's going to stay in this thing, expect them to rely heavily on the arm of Nick Arbuckle and his ability to get the ball down the field.
All right, that Pac-12 opener against Utah awaits next weekend. Vernon Adams will rest while Jeff Lockie gets the start. It's Pac-12 football from Autzen Stadium in Eugene. Next.
Week 3 of college football brings us to Eugene and Autzen Stadium, and here come the Ducks on a spectacular Saturday, climbing towards 70 degrees. No rain in the forecast, and Georgia State is in town. For more on the Panthers, let's meet the third member of our broadcast team. Here is Ashley Adamson.
JB, good morning. Well, Oregon's goals for today are get Jeff Lockie some meaningful snaps and bounce back from that Michigan State loss, fine-tune some things ahead of their conference opener against Utah. As for their opponent, well, Georgia State has some big goals themselves. A win today would be arguably one of the biggest upsets in college football history. Just to give you some context, this Panthers program has only been around for 6 years. They've won 2 of their last 26. It's a team that didn't even have a weight room until 2 weeks ago. But you know what? Trent Miles said to his team this week, he said, hey guys, we are not going 2,700 miles to Eugene to be sacrificial lambs. We're not going out there just so they can feel good about themselves and get their confidence up. Miles said we respect them, but we are going to play them hard and play them smart and see what happens. It's worth mentioning, Miles has been a part of an upset on this field before. He was a Stanford assistant in 2001 when the Cardinal came back to stun the 5th-ranked Ducks in what was one of the more heart-wrenching losses for Oregon fans in recent memory. JB?
Ashley, did Evan Moore put you up to that pre-game? I was not part of that conversation to mention that Stanford upset.
I did. We had a little side deal there. I had to make sure she made mention of that big one.
Well, as you can tell, it is once again loud here inside Autzen Stadium. According to Athlon Sports, the most crowded stadium in all of college football. Some 54,000 in attendance as we wrap up Oregon's non-conference season. Utah, the Pac-12 opener, awaits next weekend. No Vernon Adams today. Georgia State has won the toss and elected to receive, so Matt Logan will put it away, the junior from Indian Trail, North Carolina, already with 8 touchbacks this season. And he has another. So Lockie's debut as a starter will have to wait as Georgia State has the football with their senior quarterback Nick Arbuckle, a second-year starter who holds every school record, career, single game, single season, you name it.
No question, JB. Nick Arbuckle, a guy that this offense is hoping to have some success with today, as Oregon has allowed some yards through the air throughout so far this 2015 season. And we'll see what Jeff Jagodzinski is able to draw up against this defense. The offensive coordinator has been around for quite some time and is very creative.
This offense coming off a school record 582-yard performance in their first Sun Belt win over New Mexico State. They start on the ground with Kyler Neal. Rodney Hardrick takes him to the turf. A group without number 2 tailback Taz Bateman today. He suffered a broken forearm in that Week 2 contest. Neal there is Georgia State's leading rusher in both attempts and yards. Gain of 3 on his first take, so it's 2nd and 7 from the pistol. Again, they put it in the belly of Neal. Ty Coleman and Alex Balducci among the tacklers. Balducci had 5 tackles last week against Michigan State, matching a career high.
This front 7 for Oregon, setting the tone for this defense. The defense that Don Pelham, defensive coordinator, wants to see take strides in certain areas, especially with their tackling and their communication. 2 things that fell off at times in the first 2 games, and he wants to see improvement here today in both of those areas.
Twins to each side on 3rd and 7 for Arbuckle, and he will empty out his backfield. On 3rd down and long, through the hands of Nike Heights, picked by Tyree Robinson. There's a flag down as he escapes a tackler. For the moment, it's a pick 6.
JB, I think what you're going to see here, Georgia State tries to run a little bit of a rub route and get wide receiver Nike Height open underneath. And we might see offensive pass interference here. I don't know if it was pronounced enough for them to actually throw the flag, but that's how he gets so open.
Penalty is declined. Result of the play is a touchdown.
And that's exactly what it's going to be. Wide receiver Penny Hart creating space for the receiver and making contact with the corner out in the open field. And guys just don't get that open on their own. No question, there's some contact, and that draws the flag for an Oregon touchdown.
As you heard, it was offensive pass interference declined, as announced by Steven Strimling, the leader of our 8-person crew today. Tyree Robinson and that Oregon secondary get an immediate lift. You can see Chris Cisse congratulating him, among others. Aiden Schneider on to try the point after. So even better than a 3 out on the first defensive stand for the Ducks. Robinson returns it for a touchdown. Just one possession into this Week 3 contest. Oregon returns an interception for a touchdown to further forestall Jeff Lockie's debut as a starter. I'm sure he won't mind the lead that Tyree Robinson has just given the Ducks. And for the second time today, Matt Logan will boot it away with Marquand Green deep to receive for Georgia State. And once again, Green will have to take a knee on the E in Oregon as Evan breaks down that interception.
Yeah, JB, let's go back to that interception and ensuing touchdown. This receiver right here, Penny Hart, is going to come up and pick the man of wide receiver Nike Height. And he doesn't do it quite discreetly enough. He pushes up the field and makes it very obvious that that's what he's doing on the pick route. And tip balls equal interceptions. And credit Tyree Robinson for being opportunistic and being there to take that ball in for 6, to put Oregon defense off to a good start and put a Georgia State offense that is not comfortable now playing from behind.
Interceptions have plagued Arbuckle throughout his career, 17 of them last season against 23 touchdowns. They start on the ground with Kyler Neal. To continue the thought on Robinson there, at one point during fall camp, position coach John Neal said he moves like Richard Sherman, who played with Evan at Stanford, but he was your backup, as I remember, in Palo Alto, right?
That's correct. I want to make that very clear. All the Pro Bowls and all the success aside. Nice point, JB. I like that.
Look at those non-offensive touchdowns. Best in college football since 2010. 2nd down and 8 left for Arbuckle. He drops a throw. Able to hit his man at the 30. And shoved out of bounds is Penny Hart, a 5'9", 170-pound freshman.
Penny Hart does a great job operating out of the slot. Smaller guy, a guy that they believe has serious upside. Coach Trent Miles commented on just being under-recruited as a high school player, but feels like he can play at this level consistently, coming off a big week last week for this Georgia State offense.
19-yard gain for the first down for Arbuckle and the Panthers. Met immediately in the hole as DeForest Buckner went face mask to face mask with the ball carrier. You name the watch list, Buckner's on it.
DeForest Buckner, a guy that Helfrich speaks very highly of, calls him an X-factor, says he wrecks shop and makes plays. As a defensive lineman, that's exactly what you want from your guy. And DeForest Buckner knows what Helfrich thinks about him, and he's confirming what those expectations are here today so far.
Marcus Caffey dropped for a loss of 1 and sets up 2nd down and 11. Buckner, by the way, set to graduate early with his degree in social science. They set up the screen. Hart gets away across the 50. Nearly broke what looked like a horse collar tackle. Juwan Williams able to hang on, may have saved a touchdown.
Oregon electing to bring pressure and play man coverage on 3rd down. And defensive coordinator Don Pelham made it very clear yesterday, this Georgia State offense has guys that can win one-on-one matchups, and Penny Hart is one of those guys. You see him catch it in the open field, make a move, and that's a big play to keep this drive going. Expect Oregon, if they can't win these one-on-one matchups, you might see them do a little more zone, because this Georgia State offense has playmakers on the outside to win matchups.
Caffey is the back with Arbuckle. Short drop, quick release, broken up by Reggie Daniels. Here's a look at Buckner. We mentioned that he is taking his final 15 credits this fall so that he'll be able to be a college graduate as he pursues what promises to be a bright NFL future. And in doing so, he keeps a promise he made to his father, George. The player disciplinarian on this Oregon defense. 2nd down, the full 10. They roll the pocket to Arbuckle's left. He's got Glenn Smith, the sophomore. Falls as he makes the catch. 3rd down and long upcoming for the Panthers.
That time Oregon going with a little bit more zone defense.
3rd down 7 at the Oregon 33.
And as Nick Arbuckle gets outside the pocket, he's done a good job at finding guys down the field. But once again, it's all about matchups for this Oregon defense and making sure they're not letting the wrong guys get out in space for this Georgia State offense.
Defensive coordinator Don Pelham up in the booth this year. A lot more settled in year 2 in that role. His 23rd campaign with the Ducks. They bring the heat on 3rd down, and Penny Hart dropped it.
One thing this defensive coaching staff for the Oregon Ducks compared this Georgia State offense to was Eastern Washington, who, as we all know, rolled in here 2 weeks ago and threw for just over 430 yards, had a lot of success through the air. And this Oregon defense doesn't want to see a repeat of that performance from the Eastern Washington offense.
Will Lutz will attempt a 50-yard field goal. He connected from 50 in the opener against Charlotte. His career-long 53. This has the distance, but it's off the uprights. So Lutz misses from deep, his 3rd miss of the season. As the Panthers drove into Oregon territory, Jeff Lockie is next for the Ducks. Number 12 Oregon with a 7-0 lead on Georgia State as the Oregon students are about to give Jeff Lockie a round of applause as he takes his spot in the shotgun, making his first career start. And he begins with a throw to the far side. Braylon Addison has 12 on 1st down. And that takes us to our Reese's Perfect Combination.
That JB for the Reese's Perfect Combination. The obvious choice up front is Royce Freeman, a guy that's been so good for them throughout his career in Oregon, 1,365 yards a year ago. And Braylon Addison, Mr. Versatility, big week last week in getting this Oregon offense going.
Evan Bayless, who has multiple catches in 4 straight games as they get Lockie in an early rhythm.
I like what they're doing offensively with Jeff Lockie, giving him a chance to get the ball out of his hand quickly and get comfortable in this offense. That's not going to happen running the ball initially, so it's a great job getting this ball out of his hands quickly.
After a pickup of 7, here's Freeman's first carry. He slides to the outside. Out of bounds at the 40-yard line. 1st down Ducks.
As Mark Helfrich loves to discuss, 21, Royce Freeman is not your typical scat back in a spread offense. He's a physical downhill style runner, and they are more than pleased with what this guy has done throughout his Oregon career thus far.
Helfrich smiled as he told us yesterday, describing Freeman as humble to a fault. Lockie feeling heat for the first time, escapes the pocket, and lives to see another down. Shawanye Lawrence in pursuit along the defensive front for Georgia State.
What we're seeing from this Oregon offense, as expected, is tempo, regardless of who's under center. The foundational principles in this offense are tempo. And there you see Vernon Adams, a guy that's taken a lot of snaps for him the last 2 weeks, but it's Jeff Lockie's turn today, and they're on the move.
5 wide, empty backfield from the 39-yard line and 2nd down and 10. Lockie's opening drive. They roll the pocket to his right. And Bobby Baker shoves Tony Brooks James, the redshirt freshman from Gainesville, Florida, out of bounds after a pickup of 5. Brooks James had a smashing debut here against Eastern Washington. Then another trio of really solid fourth-quarter carries against Michigan State. Lockie showing off his feet for the first time. This will be about a half-yard short. 4th down coming.
What you see what this offense does so effectively is horizontally stretch the field and force the defense to play the perimeter. And these receivers have done such a good job of blocking the perimeter as well.
Brooks James moves the chains before Alonzo McGee wrapped him up. The drive continues for Lockie and the Ducks.
One thing we see, JB, we're even struggling to keep up with as quickly as this offense moves, and not a whole lot of change from Lockie as they have with Vernon Adams. Things moving very quickly offensively between snaps for the Oregon Ducks.
Again, it's Brooks James on the sweep right, is following his blocks. And the way that Mark Helfrich put it to us this week after that 31-28 loss in East Lansing, he said the defeat against the Spartans created a true sense of urgency, and they had a tremendous week of energetic practices.
For a team with this high of expectations as the Oregon Ducks have, sometimes these losses can get you in the right frame of mind and take the monkey off the back and maybe change the expectations a little bit for people around. But this team still has one mission, and that's a Pac-12 title and a chance to play in the Final Four.
They continue to feed Brooks James. He's got 1st down yardage down to the 12.
Brooks James getting a lot of carries today, part of this stable of running backs, and they feel, quote, he's a home run waiting to happen. Just needs more experience, but they're beginning to trust him even more.
Lockie pulls it out this time. Long time to survey. He throws to the back of the end zone. Braylon Addison, the closest target. Addison, after missing all of 2014, leads the Ducks with double-digit catches, including a receiving touchdown. 7 grabs last week, a team-high 138, and, of course, that 81-yard punt return for a touchdown, the 3rd of his career. He set personal bests for all-purpose yards, finishing with 236. Here comes 2nd down and 10. Lockie drops right at the line of scrimmage. Saw Taj Griffin in the backfield, a freshman from Powder Springs, Georgia. Georgia native playing against Georgia State.
So far, we've seen a variety of looks from this Oregon offense, and that's largely a function of the fact this Georgia State defense doesn't have a whole lot of tendencies. Offensive coordinator Scott Frost alluded to the fact that they do a lot of different things up front, and he wasn't really sure what they were going to give them today, so as they feel this out, they're moving Lockie around quite a bit in the pocket.
He steps up, avoids one hit. He needs a 3-yard line and is not going to get there. Melvin King on the tackle, a pickup of 4. 4th down decision awaits Mark Helfrich and the Ducks. It looks like they'll try the 3. So as Aiden Schneider comes on, Evan, your thoughts on that opening drive for Jeff Lockie?
Well, I think we saw a lot of creativity, moving Lockie in the pocket and also utilizing Brooks James quite a bit. Trying to fill out what this Georgia State defense does, because as I mentioned, they provide a lot of variation up front and on the back end in their coverages, trying to maybe account for a talent gap between them and the Oregon Ducks.
Out of the hold of Taylor Alley. Aiden Schneider's pure from 26, and the Ducks grab a 10-0 lead on the Panthers of Georgia State. Here at Autzen, the Oregon Ducks, with a number 12 national ranking, have a 10-0 lead on Georgia State. And our Pac-12 network coverage continues all day long with Utah State and Washington. Then at 5, the Beavers and San Jose State. 5:30, some of you will see Luke Falk and the Cougs against Wyoming on the Palouse. Then in prime time, top 25, Arizona against the Lumberjacks. Coverage today on Pac-12 Network, your Pac-12 Now app, and pac-12.com. Third kickoff for Logan. and it should be his third touchback. And so Nick Arbuckle and that Georgia State offense will return to the field down by 10. Let's check in on the field with Ashley.
Yeah, JB, when the Panthers offense came off the field after that second series, which ended with a drop by Penny Hart, Tim Lopano, the veteran coach, clearly frustrated. He told his receivers, don't body the ball. We're getting wide open. Our looks are there. Everybody just take a breath and relax. Of course, JB, easier said than done.
Lopano is a familiar coach to Pac-12 staffs, and he actually worked with Calvin Johnson for 5 years in Detroit. So nice privilege for these Georgia State wide receivers to have someone who worked with Megatron.
And he makes a great point. Going over the middle, catching the ball with your hands is key. Letting that thing come into the body is dangerous, and it's a tendency that a lot of receivers have.
Arbuckle has started 4 of 7 through the air. He's got Penny Hart. Hart, we're told, despite his 5'9", 170-pound frame, can windmill dunk a basketball. And he says he wouldn't be the player he was if he wasn't the size that he is. Wouldn't work as hard. He loves his height. Inside of 7 minutes to go, opening quarter. Back to the ground for the Panthers. Not much there. Rodney Hardrick among the tacklers. Alex Balducci as well. There's the senior nose from Portland.
This Georgia State offense, a lot of success running the ball last week, over 200 yards, this time relying on Kyler Neal. Really a stable at running backs in that backfield after losing Taz Bateman last week. Down one guy. They can certainly move the football. It's a very balanced offense. Jagodzinski feels good about his, quote, 50-50 split between run and pass generally. We're seeing today kind of a balanced attack as well.
They asked Neal to pick up a half yard, and he follows the surge of the pile out to the 37-yard line. First down, Georgia State. Give him 3 yards.
Barring the interception and return for the touchdown, Georgia State head coach Trent Miles has to be pleased so far, especially on the defensive side. After a 13-play drive, kind of a bend but don't break mentality, not allowing them to get in the end zone. And now approaching midfield on the offensive side of the ball.
A timeout for an injury. Appears to be one of the offensive linemen for Georgia State. As you get a look at Trent Miles there, who caught on with Tyrone Willingham at Stanford in 2001 and followed Willingham to Notre Dame. 3 seasons as an assistant at Washington as well.
Pretty amazing the challenge he has in front of him in building this program that essentially started from scratch. And we got a little perspective from defensive coordinator Don Pelham at Oregon. Blown away by the job Trent Miles has done to date. And just says the vision and the energy and enthusiasm you have to maintain every day to build a program like this is incredibly difficult. And Trent Miles, although hadn't had many wins, definitely the right guy for the job and off to the right start.
Left tackle Michael Ivory came out. He was the injured player. To Rodney Prevost among the Ducks tacklers, crashing from the edge. So Ivory has replaced that left tackle by Sebastian Willer for Nick Arbuckle.
You see this Oregon defense pre-snap. They're still respecting the ability of Nick Arbuckle to throw the ball down the field. Haven't thrown it yet this drive, but definitely not loading up the line of scrimmage. Respecting his ability in these one-on-one matchups on the outside.
He pulls it out, throws right down the line to Nike Hout, who puts it on the deck. And the Ducks have forced their second turnover.
Georgia State trying to run the tunnel screen with receiver Nike Height, getting a block from his slot receiver, and he's unable to hang on to the football. But credit the Oregon defense for recognizing what he was trying to do. Pre-snap, they saw something that allowed them to sniff out this tunnel screen and be right there at the line of scrimmage to make contact and get their helmet on the football, causing a critical turnover once again for this Georgia State offense. Mistakes that they just cannot afford in this environment if they're going to keep this game close.
How about Jawan Williams from Tucker, Georgia, another Georgia native who had his first career interception in the opener, now forces the fumble. And that puts Lockie and the Ducks in prime position offensively. Rodney Hardrick with the recovery.
Now you said it, JB. Now you put this Oregon offense with a short field, with the opportunity to build even more momentum with Jeff Lockie and his limited experience. Doesn't bode well for Georgia State's chances here.
Lockie with a nice pocket, has Stanford overshot his man at the goal line. 6'5" Dwayne Stanford.
Dwayne Stanford runs a good route, but really Lockie's first down the field throw of significant yards and overshoots him just a little bit. There's some early game jitters that he probably needs to get out to deliver that ball a little more effectively for a touchdown.
Both tight ends in formation, and that short hops Johnny Munt with a flag down at the line of scrimmage. Illegal shift by Oregon.
Illegal shift. Offense number 88. Penalties declined. Third down.
Oregon does so many things formationally, it's surprising that doesn't happen more often. A disciplined unit, given all the different looks they present a defense.
Look at Lockie leaving the field on third down. Braylon Addison will come on as the quarterback. He's got Royce Freeman to his left. Addison keeps it. He's across the 25 and down at the 23. Gobbled up by Trey Payne. So gain of 3. It sets up 4th down and 7.
4th down 7.
Interesting trying to use Braylon Addison in a Wildcat package. Obviously Mr. Versatility. A heck of a wide receiver as well as a punt returner. This time trying to use him as a downhill runner behind center. Wasn't able to get it done quite on this one.
Aiden Schneider's career long is 42 yards. This will be just beyond 40. Snap a bit high, but well held by Taylor Alley. And a 40-yard field goal is good. The second of the day by Schneider, and the Ducks expand their lead. As we get set for the kickoff, let's take a look at our cold, hard facts. Under Mark Helfrich, the Ducks have scored over 1,300 points, most by any active FBS coach over his first 30 games. See what Chip Kelly was able to do. But when we chatted with Helfrich in his office yesterday, Evan, I heard a lot of our and us, not my and me.
Absolutely. This Oregon coaching staff has been so successful for so long. And when you ask Mark Helfrich about it, a very impressive answer. Says it's an us thing, it's not a me thing. This is the longest tenured coaching staff in college football, and he feels like he's part of a collective effort to carry the torch and set the bar where this thing has been for so long. And he's effectively done that, and you see offensive coordinator Scott Frost joining him in that effort. These guys have been here for quite some time, and they can sit there and rattle off several names of guys that have been here even longer than they have that are still helping them maintain the standard of success that they've set so consistently here in Eugene.
The Ducks have averaged better than 45 points per game during Scott Frost's first 2 seasons as offensive coordinator. All touchbacks so far for the Oregon kicking game. 4:11 left in the opening quarter. Arbuckle ready for another drive.
I'm sure one thing that's being stressed to this Georgia State offense from head coach Trent Miles is we just cannot afford the mistakes, guys. This is a very talented football team we're playing in Oregon with an opportunistic defense, and they can't afford to set themselves back by turning it over in their own territory. Fortunately for them, their defense is held up in bend but don't break fashion, allowing 2 field goals. But they cannot afford these mistakes and continue to fall back any more than they already are.
Arbuckle 5 of 8 with 43 yards through the air and that pick. On a wheel route, they got a free runner. Penny Hart nearly got away. A huge gash before Ugo Amadi, the early enrollee freshman, dragged him down.
Outstanding play call by Jeff Jagodzinski, moving guys around to utilize matchups. Rolls the running back on a wheel route out of the backfield, taking advantage of a linebacker matchup, which speed's going to win every time in a matchup like that. And using Penny Hart in the backfield is very, very smart because it forces a linebacker to cover a guy that just has too much speed.
45 yards. Here's the pressure. He gets it out to Robert Davis, who scored a touchdown at Washington last season. 6 yards on the completion.
And this is something that Don Pelham talked a lot about yesterday. They'll use shifts and motion and get their offensive players out of position in order to utilize matchups against the Oregon defense, especially against man coverage. And like I said a minute ago, they'll take Penny Hart on a linebacker all day. Too fast, too dynamic out of the backfield.
From the pistol on 2nd down and 4, this is Kyler Neal crashing ahead. Johnny Reagan III, the junior nickelback, helped to make the tackle. And he got just what he needed, 4 yards and a first down. Takes the Panthers to the 21. Three-minute mark, first quarter. They empty Neal out of the backfield. Arbuckle over the middle. Keith Rucker. Touchdown, Panthers. No, they're going to mark him down just inside the 1. Rucker extending that football, and for the moment, it's first and goal.
Once again, Jeff Jagodzinski using his creativity, motioning the running back out of the backfield in order to find out what coverage Oregon was running. He gets followed out there by a linebacker, knowing it's man coverage, delivers the ball to the tight end, who tries to extend the ball over the goal line, but it looks like that knee came down at just about the half-yard line. The question is, where was that ball when the knee came down? And they're going to take another look. JB, oftentimes what offensive coordinators will elect to do is movement pre-snap to find out what coverage the defense is in. And that time they motioned 25 Kyler Neal out to the right side of the field. And he's followed by a linebacker indicating man coverage. And Nick Arbuckle finds a matchup he likes with his big tight end on safety Reggie Daniels and takes advantage of it.
Knee hits there. Tough to tell from this angle where the ball is. Big long arms of Keith Rucker, the junior from Cincinnati.
He's down right there. That ball falls just short of the goal line. As we know, it was called down on the field and not a touchdown. So do we have conclusive evidence to overturn that? This is probably going to be a better look for us. I think we're just short. Certainly not enough to overturn the call on the field.
Rucker's father, Keith Sr., played in the NFL for a half dozen seasons as a defensive tackle.
Stands. First and goal.
Well called on the field by our crew. So with 2:24 left in the opening period. First and goal coming for Trent Miles.
Been very impressed so far with Trent Miles and his game plan offensively, as drawn up by Jeff Jagodzinski. And we knew this was something they were going to do, is utilize these matchups, and they've done that effectively. And they've been able to march on an Oregon defense that has allowed a lot of yards so far this year.
Jonathan Lytle, the fullback, into the game for the first time, and he helps the surge for Arbuckle. Still no signal. Arbuckle has already come out the back end, and he's got a touchdown. The Panthers are on the board.
And now if you're Trent Miles, those turnovers early on hurt even more. And Nick Arbuckle doing a great job. No wasted movement at the line of scrimmage. Oftentimes on a quarterback sneak, you'll see quarterbacks have wasted movement and kill a little too much time as that hole opens and closes very quickly. And Arbuckle is able to lunge forward for the touchdown.
A 5-play, 75-yard drive, eclipsing just 2 minutes for Arbuckle and the quick strike Panthers. Will Lutz, who handles both the place kicking and the punting duties, tacks on the point after. Our new score 13-7. Let's go to San Francisco and check in with Anthony Herron.
Thanks, JB. Our first Trans-America game break takes us to Columbia, where Missouri, on 4th and goal, gets stuffed. Ish Witter at the 1-yard line. The Huskies come up with the big stop. The number 22 Tigers leading 9-6 in the fourth quarter. Look at Bobby Diaco. He's excited, JB.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and welcome everyone back to Eugene. Temperatures in the 70s today. Just a spectacular afternoon for Pac-12 football. Georgia State on the board following a 75-yard drive. Oregon with no Vernon Adams today. He has that broken index finger on his right hand, his throwing hand. What do you think the decision to rest Adams in anticipation of the Pac-12 opener when they host Utah next weekend?
I think Adams showed last week he has the ability to play through that injury. They feel like the most prudent decision was to give him some rest and prepare him for Pac-12 play. I can't imagine that finger got worse. But the rest will certainly help as they prepare for Utah next week.
See the two quarterbacks there. Braylon Addison describing Jeff Lockie as the Tim Duncan of the team, while Vernon Adams is like Steph Curry, to use the basketball analogy. Byron Marshall on the return. 17-yard return to the 22-yard line, and that's where Lockie gets it back.
Lockie would take those Tim Duncan comparisons all week long. A guy that has proven to be very consistent in this system and has drawn praise from all of his teammates and coaches alike. Although he hasn't had much quality in-game experience, only thrown 41 career passes going into this game, he's earned his shot. He'll continue to try to move this Oregon offense down the field.
The basketball comparison is one his head coach Mark Helfrich uses, asking him to be the point guard of this offense. Pretty good handoff there to Royce Freeman. Let your scorer do the work. He's got 11 on first down.
And that right there is a great example of a staple of this Oregon offense. Perimeter running and quality wide receiver blocking on the outside by the likes of Charles Nelson and Braylon Addison. So important in what they do. As Braylon Addison is tackled on the bubble screen for no gain.
One personnel matter to bring up here on the Oregon offensive line. Cameron Hunt sits, the right guard today. Doug Brenner, the redshirt sophomore from Portland, gets the nod along the offensive line. Lockie throws down the line to Stanford. Good blocking in front of him. He's got about half of what he needed, and I'm sure as a former receiver yourself, you can appreciate what the receivers are asked to do in terms of blocking on the edge for Oregon.
A lot of guys don't like to do it. It's hard to get the receivers to consistently do that, but Scott Frost is quick to say, hey, we got a lot of talent at that position. You don't do it, you won't play. And they've responded.
Freeman on the screen, 3rd down and 4. He's got the first down out across the 45. Alonzo McGee there among the tacklers.
So much of what this Oregon offense tries to do is outflank you and horizontally stretch you. And if you lose leverage on defense and they get outside of you, it's goodbye. They have too much speed. And so it's key for this Georgia State defense to stay disciplined and funnel ball carriers back to the interior to allow their linebackers and safeties to make tackles.
That's Bruce Dukes, the 5th-year senior corner, in his 2nd season with Georgia State after transferring from Central Florida, down on the far side of the field.
Yeah, another point with this Oregon offense. I mentioned trying to outflank and out-leverage the defense, and they'll do a number of things to try to get that defense out of position, getting guys in space pre-snap. As Mark Helfrich alluded to yesterday, look, the identity of this defense really falls on speed and space, and we know this Oregon offense has had so much speed for so many years, and they want to get that speed out in space and see if you're able to tackle them, which has led to so much success for this Oregon offense. Just a stable of athletes, so many guys to go to, and they dare you to try to be able to bring them down, because if you don't, they're gone for 7, and that's happened for so many years.
Chandon Sullivan coming on to replace Dukes at corner. This is a program that's still building a lot of depth, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Last year they went to Clemson. They had 16 scholarship defensive players on the bus. Now they feel like they have a legitimate 2 deep. Freeman got the Ducks a first down inside a minute to go, first quarter. Carries right side, untouched until he crosses midfield. Alonzo McGee hit him there, 5-yard pickup on first down.
Good job there by Byron Marshall on the outside, and that receiving core out on the bunch to the strong side, essentially creating 7 to 8 yards of open space for Royce Freeman, just utilizing his wide receiver blocks.
Spotted at the 50, Lockie with a hitch. Now he throws the screen, and Freeman wrapped up well. Caleb Ringer, one-time Michigan signee, made the tackle for a loss.
Much of what Jeff Lockie has done so far in this game has been mostly horizontal passes. We haven't seen much of a vertical pass game down the field. He missed on one earlier that quite possibly could have resulted in a touchdown. But as Scott Frost gets more and more comfortable with him in the pocket, you might see him throw down the field a little bit more than he has so far today.
Devin Allen, his receiver, to the near side of the field. He rolls away under duress and throws incomplete with Stanford in the vicinity. And that will wrap up the first quarter. Lockie goes 7 of 12 through the air in his first quarter of starting duty. The pick 6 to open the contest, the difference. Ducks with a 13-7 lead. We begin the second quarter at Autzen Stadium in Eugene with the Ducks in front 13-7 with Evan Moore, J.B. Long. And Oregon will punt it away. Ian Wheeler on fourth down, set to kick to Penny Hart. Panthers return man signals fair catch right away and inside his 15-yard line. He'll give it back to senior quarterback Nick Arbuckle. With the Panthers offense outgaining the Ducks 128-85 in terms of total yardage in that opening quarter.
That's a surprising stat, but it's a matchup that we were looking forward to seeing today as this Nick Arbuckle-led offense and these playmakers that he has on the outside versus this Oregon defense that has shown a tendency to give up quite a bit of yards at times this year. It's something Don Pelham is working on, both from the tackling and communication standpoint. He feels like, especially on the back end and the secondary, so much of their success is contingent on their ability to communicate with one another, get each other in the right set. And there's been times this year where they've been unable to do that on a consistent basis.
Arbuckle 8 of 11 through the air. He climbs the pocket, and the Ducks get home to Rodney Prevost with a sack of 3 yards.
Great job by the Oregon defense, causing that pocket to collapse, not bringing a significant amount of pressure, just breaking down that pocket. And that's one way to combat some issues in the secondary, is not give Nick Arbuckle the time he needs to throw. They can get help up front from guys like DeForest Buckner. It's going to make it very difficult on Arbuckle to get the ball on the field.
4 wide. Virtually no drop, and he pegs it to Penny Hart as well. 5 catches, over 100 yards now for Hart.
And if the Oregon defense is going to continue to bring their 4 defensive linemen in pass pressure, it's going to be very important for Nick Arbuckle to get that ball out quick if his offensive lineman is unable to hold up. And that time he does just that, and I believe Jeff Jagodzinski will continue to make those adjustments so he can get that ball out quick, because that's when they're most effective.
So redshirt freshman Jalen Jelks along the defensive line for the Ducks on 3rd down and 3. Near the 25-yard line. Oregon brings pressure. The throw out to Joel Ruiz, and the tight end reaches for the 30-yard line. He's a 5th-year senior. He was one of the top 5 senior tight ends according to Mel Kiper.
Oregon defense electing to bring pressure on this play, and they were really good against Michigan State on 3rd down. Held Michigan State to a 25% success rate. Credit Nick Arbuckle, had the answer on that one, got it out quickly to his tight end for a 1st down.
Kyler Neal, the back in formation with Arbuckle. He takes the handoff. Ran into Reggie Daniels, Christian French as well. 3-yard pickup on 1st down.
Being so effective on 3rd down is what kept Oregon in that ball game last week. Had some critical stops to get the ball back and make a push to possibly win that game. Bright spot in last weekend's loss.
Arbuckle feeling it right in front, and out he goes at the 25. French involved, DeForest Buckner as well, helping to collapse that pocket.
Don Pelham has to be pleased with this, bringing 4 once again, not even having to bring pressure, and is able to collapse that pocket and force Nick Arbuckle to eat it. And if he can continue to do that, he's going to really cause problems for this passing game, because then he can drop 8 guys or 7 guys in coverage to stop what they're trying to do on the back end.
3rd down and long, a conservative call. The Panthers give it to DeMarcus Kirk, and they set up to punt. Well, how about the Ducks? Just 1 sack through 2 weeks. They exceed that total on this Panthers drive alone.
As I mentioned, with Georgia State's effectiveness through the air, it's going to be important for them to continue to get that push up front. And they clearly like the matchup they have with this Georgia State offensive line, led by a guy in DeForest Buckner that really should be creating this kind of pressure on a consistent basis.
Will Lutz will kick it away to the Pac-12 Special Teams Player of the Week, Braylon Addison. Now, I don't think he wanted any part of Addison. We'll wait for the spot. It is not going to be good news for Georgia State.
And that's the effect that Addison has. If you're not going to kick it to him, you better be good at directional punting. In this case, it doesn't work out too well for the Georgia State Special Teams unit. And Oregon's going to get great field position.
They finally stop at the 45-yard line of the Panthers. Inside the home of the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, here's our Nissan Heisman watch.
Yeah, two guys really jump out at me. Cody Kessler, outstanding numbers so far this year. He'll see his first true test tonight against the Stanford defense. And Ezekiel Elliott, incredible numbers in that powerful Ohio State offense. And if he's able to stay healthy, he's going to have an outstanding year, and is going to be right there for that Heisman Trophy at the end of the season.
Vernon Adams on headset down on the sideline, chatting with Taylor Alley. Not able to go today, again, nursing a broken finger, his index finger on his throwing hand. And so Jeff Lockie has been given the start. 7 of 12 so far today. He starts from the 40-yard line. Freeman is rolling again. All the way 15 yards downfield before he is grabbed. 17-yard pickup.
Evan Bayless comes in motion, the tight end pre-snap. He's able to block that outside linebacker and give Royce Freeman a nice gap to run. Good field position for this Oregon offense.
Right back to it. He gets out of an ankle tackle. He's got the edge, and he's got 6. Royce Freeman, his 5th touchdown of the year.
Once again, as we've discussed so many times, the tight ends and receivers for this Oregon offense doing their job. In this case, as Royce Freeman gets out to the second level, he gets an outstanding block from the wide receiver and has a clear path to the end zone. If you have guys blocking on the second level on the linebackers and the safeties as consistently as Oregon does, you're going to run the football very well, and that's exactly what they were able to do here on that drive. But once again, benefiting from good field position from an opportunistic defense and special teams unit is the staple of this Oregon offense so far today.
Can we get Freeman on the Nissan Heisman watch? He's off to a terrific start to his sophomore campaign. And the Ducks find the end zone and extend their lead. Only 2 plays, 40 yards, the 22-yard capper by Royce Freeman. His 5th touchdown of the year. Pac-12 football brought to you by Barbasol, with number 12 Oregon getting in the end zone offensively for the first time today on a 2-play, 40-yard drive. Needed just 20 seconds. Both carries went to Freeman, and he capped it with a 22-yard dash. Your 76 drive summary. And for the first time today, the Panthers will have a chance to bring it out of their own end zone. Glenn Smith got the touchback line. Nonetheless, 25-yard line is where they'll take over.
Yeah, JB, let's go back to that touchdown run. It starts up front with these two, the guard and the tackle, opening a running lane. And then right after that, Devin Allen getting down the field and blocking the corner, creating a big lane for Royce Freeman to run. And if you're a running back, that's the kind of stuff you want to see when you essentially go untouched all the way to the end zone. Makes for a very happy head coach and Mark Helfrich as well.
So Arbuckle and the Panthers back on the field. They already have one 75-yard touchdown drive in this game. They'll begin from their own 25 now. Better protection after giving up 2 sacks on their most recent drive. This is Penny Hart into the waiting arms of Rodney Hardrick. I like this story about Hardrick, the 5th-year senior. He personally edited a video compiling all of his mistakes from 2014, and he keeps still images of those mistakes on his phone as daily reminders.
Certainly a leader on this football team, a guy that Don Pellin says, a lot of guys want to coach, he should coach. Great leader, understands the game, a lot of respect for him.
Kyler Neal straight ahead running right down the hash marks. Arian Springs eventually pinned him. Danny Mattingly tripped him up. It's a gain of 6. Now first down at the 36-yard line. Ducks defense has created 2 turnovers today. An interception return for a touchdown by Tyree Robinson. And Jawan Williams forced a fumble. 10 points off those turnovers for the Ducks, and they've got a 20-7 lead. First down for Arbuckle. Tipped up in the air, dangerous again. It's Robinson again.
One thing every defensive coordinator wants their defensive line to do is get hands in throwing lanes. And if you're able to do that, you create tip balls. And more often than not, the tip ball favors the defense because they're the ones looking at the ball. A lot of the receivers' backs are to the football. And Tyree Robinson, once again, the beneficiary of another tip ball, leading to his second pick of the day. This Oregon defense at times very opportunistic, has a tendency to give up yards, but they make big plays like this. And once again, give their offense great field position as Jeff Lockie continues to operate.
Tui Talia batted the ball up in the air. Pop fly for Robinson. His second pick. Gives it back to Lockie with two backs from the 41. Brooks James sweeping left, hit behind the line, and he'll go for a loss of 4. Taurus Batiste, a fifth-year senior safety with the tackle.
Looking back at the stats, this Georgia State offense winning the yardage battle, but Oregon offense certainly winning the field position battle, putting themselves in good spots.
Lockie optioning right. He'll opt to keep it. He's down at the 34. Sets up 3rd down and 4.
But we haven't seen a whole lot of today. Lockie getting out on the perimeter, obviously wanting to pitch that football, but doing a good job getting that defender turned around and getting up the field.
Screen right. It's Stanford. Got a big block, and he's going to go. Dwayne Stanford, touchdown, Ducks.
Reinforcing the identity of this offense. It's about speed and tempo and getting speed out in space. And they run the tunnel.
Oregon extends its NCAA record streak of touchdown passes now in 71 consecutive games. This one belongs to Dwayne Stanford, 35 yards from Jeff Lockie, the second touchdown toss of his career. That's the first scoring play, measuring more than 25 yards for this Ducks offense this season. Another touchback. Let's go to San Francisco and check in with Anthony Herron.
JB, this Barbasol close-shave game break lived up to its name. UConn, with 53 seconds left, lined up for a field goal, but then it was intercepted off the fake. Anthony Sherrills returns it over 50 yards. UConn had an opportunity to tie the game. Didn't go in their direction. Now Mizzou sneaks away with a 9-6 victory.
Thanks for keeping us posted, Anthony. Back here in Eugene, Oregon with a 20-point lead in the second quarter as Nick Arbuckle goes back to work. He brings Robert Davis in motion. Rolls the pocket to his right. Penny Hart has been his favorite target. He scampers out of bounds with 8 yards. Now on that touchdown, who threw the key block, Evan?
Well, Dwayne Stanford finishes the run, but if you watch here, right guard and Doug Brunner, a guy that was not supposed to start today, what he's going to do is he's going to get out and make this block on the tunnel screen, open it up nicely for Dwayne Stanford. You got to give those big guys credit up front sometimes. A guy that was a late addition to the starting lineup and Doug Brunner at right guard, outstanding job of executing the play.
Kyler Neal got one of the two he needed. Jimmy Swain, a sophomore linebacker who backs up Joe Walker, had the tackle. Cameron Hunt had made 17 straight starts at right guard for Oregon before Brenner stepped into his place today. 3rd down and 1 from the 34-yard line. Rucker, the tight end, motions right to left. They'll trust Neal again. That defensive surge once again led by Jimmy Swain. Christian French in as well. 4th down upcoming for the Panthers.
Georgia State offense electing to go with the 2 tight end set. Kind of a run-heavy scheme for them. A good indicator for the Oregon defense of what their intentions were on that play. They tipped their hand a little bit as that Oregon defense crowded the line of scrimmage and left him no room to run, creating a 4th down and a punt situation for the Georgia State special teams unit.
Swain in the Ducks D, 3 and out. Let's back to punt. Addison hoping for a chance. He intimidated the Panthers into a shanked punt the last time he dropped. This one is in play, but a low drive. And it'll roll to a stop at the 30-yard line. Let's make that touchdown our Red Vine sweet moment of the game.
Once again, just a tunnel screen to Dwayne Stanford, and credit the offensive line, specifically Doug Brenner, for getting out there and opening up a running lane for him. And as we've mentioned several times, these Oregon receivers, if you give them space, they're gone. And Dwayne Stanford is a good illustration of that. Too much speed on this offense to give him that kind of space. And it's 6 more for the Oregon offense.
And as we mentioned, a touchdown pass now in 71 straight games, an NCAA record that dates back to 2010. And Darren Thomas, Mariota, Bennett, Costa, Rodriguez, some of the other quarterbacks who have contributed to that streak. And Devin Allen has his first catch. He picks up 5.
Dwayne Stanford on that touchdown, a guy that has had a bigger role with the suspension of Darren Carrington, and Devin Allen coming back from injury, taking big advantage of a good opportunity.
Stick it on the ground with Freeman, who has first down yardage. Allen debuted at Michigan State after recovering from a right ACL tear, suffered the opening kick of the Rose Bowl. Played 18 snaps last week, but no targets, so he gets his first catch on this drive. On play action, it's blown dead with a flag in the air.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, number 73. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Tyrell Crosby, the right tackle. All right, let's set it down the field and see what Ashley Adamson is up to.
Well, JB, one thing that was very clear in our meeting with Scott Frost yesterday, Vernon Adams earned a ton of respect from his offensive coordinator for playing with that broken knuckle on his throwing hand at Michigan State. Both Frost and Mark Helfrich told us how impressed they've been with how Adams has ingratiated himself into the culture here at Oregon. And today, down on the sidelines, got his headset on. Adams is the first guy out on the field, slapping hands with teammates, putting his head together with Jeff Lockie. Now, that's a relationship that could have been contentious, but all indications is that it's been nothing but supportive, JB.
Thank you very much, Ashley. And Royce Freeman picks up 12 more as you get a look at Frost and VA. Freeman again. He's got first down yardage to the 43. There's Adams, who took a lot of criticism on social media. He told Ryan Thornburn of the Register Guard he appreciates the real Duck fans out there who are faithful and understand that not everyone's perfect and that he is not Marcus Mariota. Lockie keeps it himself, gets 1.
This Oregon offense moving noticeably quicker on this drive, trying to get some tempo going pre-snap. Going back to what Ashley reported, it's something Mark Helfrich is very proud of with this Oregon team. They've built a culture here that is very, very selfless, and if you don't fit that culture, you become the outlier. And you get singled out by guys for being selfish, and nobody wants to be that guy. And they've created a culture of getting guys to do the right thing and be very selfless players.
Caleb Ringer helped off the turf. Vernon Adams, when he arrived late to training camp, told Mark Helfrich that he wanted to address the team. He wanted to apologize for being a distraction, and Helfrich told him, don't say, just do. And he has.
Helfrich clearly not the type to have guys do those motivational speeches in front of the team. So often those fall on deaf ears. Football is a meritocracy, and actions speak louder than words. And Vernon Adams has done that very well here so far.
Todd Griffin, a Georgia native and a freshman whose older brother Ty is in the Ducks defensive backfield, gets a touch. Jeff Lockie says that Griffin is, quote, super freaky talented. He's clocked at 4.31 in the 40-yard dash. 45-inch vertical as well for Griffin.
Number 76, 5-yard penalty, third down.
Jake Pisarcik with the false start. So far on this drive, we've seen 2 Oregon pre-snap penalties, and as I mentioned, they're moving much quicker on this drive, and it's caused them to jump the snap a little bit a couple times, something Mark Helfrich is probably a little bit irritated with as they try to get set and move quickly.
Comes Addison, the motion man. Lockie rolling to his left to throw. He wanted Addison and let him out of bounds.
They bring Addison out of the backfield, run a little bit of a delay route, and bring him into that void on the left side of the field. Lockie feeling like he was unable to drop it in while on the move. It's a good stop for the Georgia State defense.
So Lockie now 9 of 15 for 73 yards, 35 of which came on his touchdown toss. 4th down and 11 upcoming. Ian Wheeler, who joined the Ducks as a walk-on in 2013 before winning the job and a scholarship last season, sends this one into the end zone despite the best efforts of Addison. 5:03 left before the half. Oregon 27, Georgia State 7. Anthony Herron's team is standing by with our State Farm halftime report. They've got thoughts on our first half, highlights from around the country, and they'll ask and answer the question, who is the most underrated team in the Pac-12? That's just 5 minutes of game time away on the State Farm halftime reports. Arbuckle and the Panthers now trailing 20. They'll take their first snap from the 20-yard line. Arbuckle 12 of 16 through the air so far this afternoon. Wants the screen to Kyler Neal. Read beautifully. Christian French. A 2-yard loss on the play. I'll pose that same question to you, Evan. Who is the most underrated team in the Pac?
Well, JB, given how competitive the Pac-12 South is, I think an overlooked team are the Utah Utes. One of the best running backs in the conference and a very physical defense, and play a brand of football that is not all that common anymore in the Pac-12. So I think the Utah Utes are a very underrated team in the Pac-12.
They're at Fresno tonight before they come to Eugene to play the Pac-12 opener. Arbuckle again to the air. Throws low over the middle with Penny Hart, his intended target. 3rd down and long. Upcoming for Georgia State.
On more than one occasion tonight, Jeff Jagodzinski opting to isolate Penny Hart in the slot on the backside away from the strength of the formation. And try to get him to run quick routes on the inside. That time a 2-step slant. Ball a little low. Good coverage by the Oregon Ducks.
UO a chance to pin their ears back on this rush. Arbuckle and the Panthers need the 30-yard line on 3rd down.
Oregon showing pressure in both A-gaps with both linebackers. The question is, will they bring it or will they drop into coverage for this long 3rd down?
They do get the snap off. Quick throw, and the drops continue to plague the Panthers. This time it's Glenn Smith.
Well, once again, letting that ball come into his body, a little behind him on his back hip. Not an easy catch to make. But the best defense here for the Oregon Ducks is forcing Arbuckle to get that ball out really quickly and bring pressure, which they did, because they know if that ball does come out quickly, it can't be too far down the field. Then you put it on your Oregon defense to tackle effectively in space short of that 1st down marker and force a punt.
Addison patrolling his own 40-yard line as he awaits the kick from Will Lutz. Couple of steps to his right before he boots it away. An angled kick that checks up across the 50 and spins to the 36-yard line. A little bit more than 4 minutes for Oregon to work with, and the football. What have you made of Jeff Lockie's debut as a starter?
Well, in the first half, I think they've asked him to kind of throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage more often than not and allow his athletes to get out and run. They're trying to get him comfortable, so they haven't asked him to throw down the field a ton. But he's been the beneficiary of great field position for this Oregon offense, allowing him to kind of get himself into a rhythm. And you see here the touchdown to Dwayne Stanford. That's going to make your quarterback really good when your receiver has to do all the work. But at some point today, I would like to see them allow Jeff Lockie to throw the ball down the field. We saw that one time earlier, and he missed a guy near the end zone. I'd like to see him get a chance to throw the ball down the field here at some point on a vertical passing game.
Not much need at this point, as long as Freeman is going the way he has been.
Freeman carries to the 46.
A long 9. 2nd down and short before Dukes, who has returned to the game after leaving with an injury, is credited with the tackle. Lockie, 6'2", 205 pounds, a redshirt junior, a business major, and Pac-12 honorable mention, all academic. This is the 3rd consecutive year he's been relegated, Evan, to the backup duty. And upon losing the starting job this August, he said the only response is to have your head up and keep going, because there are a lot bigger things going on here than myself. I thought that was a very mature comment from Lockie, who had to be disappointed. Freeman over the century mark, picks up a fresh set of downs for Lockie and the Ducks. Inside of 3.5 to go, 2nd quarter. The 2-back set. And he's going to put it in the air for Charles Nelson, all alone, and inside the 10. Taris Baptiste, a touchdown-saving tackle.
Getting the speed of Charles Nelson and bringing him out of the backfield on a wheel route presents a big mismatch for this Georgia State defense. And there's no linebacker that's going to run with Charles Nelson, and he proves that. And we see the nice downfield throw from Lockie, which we were hoping to see here at some point, because JB, we mentioned they're going to need him at other times again this year, given the injury history of Vernon Adams. And you want to make sure he's comfortable throwing the ball down the field as they get into Pac-12 play if they need him again. as this season goes on.
It was a 44-yard completion to set up 1st and goal. Tony Brooks-James got 1 or 2.
That was Oregon's answer, much like Georgia State did earlier in the game with Penny Hart in the backfield. They do the same thing with Charles Nelson. A nice wheel route ends up wide open for a big gain.
It's on the floor, and Lockie appeared to have covered it. Some indecision there at the mesh point with Brooks-James.
These are other things you worry about with your backup quarterback in game situations. Ball handling, post-snap. A lot of stuff going on behind the line of scrimmage with giving and tucking and keeping. And that thing gets away from Lockie and almost a costly turnover.
Please reset the game clock. 2 minutes and 31 seconds. Please reset the play clock to 40 seconds. Both clocks will start on my signal.
You can hear the announcement as we get the clock adjusted. 2:31 on the game clock. Some more time on the play clock as well for Lockie, who faces 3rd down and goal. Tony Brooks-James remains his back. Lockie gets away from the first bit of trouble, but he's dropped at the 24-yard line. Joe Peterson, who is the star of this Georgia State defense, comes up with a 13-yard sack.
JB, going back to that fumble on the previous play, it's a lot like the quarterback-center exchange. Now Oregon goes out of the gun quite a bit, and so it's important for Lockie to be comfortable with that mesh point that he has with his running backs. As JB, you alluded to, these running backs are used to having that ball put in their belly a certain way. And when you get a new quarterback in the game that hasn't had the reps that Vernon Adams has had with these guys, you worry about that exchange point. Again, much like a quarterback-center exchange, what coaches worry about once you bring a backup quarterback in the football game.
Before another 40-yard attempt from Aiden Schneider, Georgia State calls timeout, and that'll give us a chance to update our Reese's perfect combination, Freeman and Addison.
And we mentioned Freeman over 100 yards again, a great physical back in this system that has been so successful, not your typical scat back in a spread offense. And Braylon Addison, Mr. Versatility, been quiet a little bit today, but you've seen his effect on special teams. They refuse to punt him the ball, resulting in a lot of hidden yardage for the Oregon offense, ending up with really, really good special teams play and confusion on the Georgia State end because they don't want to kick him the football. And it ends up giving the Oregon offense the ball on the right side of the 50-yard line.
The hold will be spotted just beyond the 30-yard line as Schneider attempts his second 40-yarder of the afternoon from the right hash. He has been solid. So the Ducks are to 30. As we take a closer look at the sophomore from Imperial, California, Royce Freeman, who has a 22-yard touchdown to his credit today.
Now, JB, you hit it. He's a beneficiary of a lot of good blocking down the field. And Royce Freeman has proven time and time again, when you give him these running lanes, he'll burn you. He's the right combination of size and speed. And a very physical back they feel is probably NFL ready right now, given his physical stature and his build. Very versatile guy. And as we mentioned, getting that speed and space and that perimeter blocking is so key for what they do in the passing and the running game. And I think Royce Freeman has to be happy with his wide receivers and his offensive line creating the lanes that have allowed him to be so effective here today.
Well, Evan, Scott Frost, the offensive coordinator, had the line of the week, didn't he, when he advised us at some point, if you get the opportunity, touch his back. Speaking of Royce Freeman, because some guys have to spend years in the weight room to get the stature that he has built naturally.
Some guys are just born with it, and Royce Freeman is clearly one of those guys. He said when he came in as a freshman, he already looked and acted like a 25-year-old. And that kind of maturity led to a big freshman year with 1,365 yards. And relied on even more heavily this year with Thomas Tyner out, his shoulder injury. But they knew they had a guy in Royce Freeman that was going to be special for them for a long time. And he also provided a little bit of peace of mind throughout the offseason, with Oregon not 100% sure who their quarterback was going to be until Vernon Adams got a chance to come in here and compete. But we asked Mark Helfrich, what kind of assurance are you getting from your running back? How well did you sleep knowing that whoever was going to be your quarterback, you had this guy in the backfield with him? And he nodded and smiled and said, no question. That guy gave me the very, very necessary peace of mind I needed going into this year.
How do you expect Arbuckle and the Panthers to approach this drive with 1:45 left before the half and trailing 30-7?
Well, I expect them to be aggressive. They just don't want to make any mistakes here and put any points up for the Oregon offense like they've already done twice here today.
Like T.J. Daniel was involved with the tackle. Joe Walker gets up as well after bringing down Kyler Neal. And Oregon will use one of its 3 timeouts, anticipating a 3-and-out and maybe one more chance to tack on to their lead before the break.
Well, as we said in the first quarter, JB, this Georgia State offense can't afford to make the mistakes it's made, because this Oregon offense and this really entire Oregon football team will make you pay, and they've done that, sitting here now at 30-7. Mostly a result of great field position for the Oregon Ducks that's resulted from mistakes from the Georgia State offense and special teams unit.
See the Panthers out of Atlanta, Georgia, playing their 2nd season in the Sun Belt. Evan was bumping some Ludacris on the way to the stadium today just to get his mind right in anticipation of the Panthers and the Ducks. 2nd down and 8, and they will throw. Arbuckle shakes it off. Keeps the play alive, spots Hart, and it's going to go for a loss regardless. Ugo Amadi in pursuit.
Well, Georgia State realizing that Oregon's going to utilize its timeouts because they want to get the ball back. And the Oregon defense is able to get pressure on Arbuckle, and he gets rid of the football. Once again, utilizing a timeout, trying to get them in a quick 3-and-out and get that football back and put more points on the board and give Jeff Lockie a chance for another drive.
Henry Mondu, the sophomore from Portland Jesuit, who delivered the quarterback hit. He got around Taylor Evans, the center, who is now down on the field with an injury. Mondu, originally recruited as a tight end, made his first career start last week against the Spartans. He and Tui Talia are listed as co-starters at that position. Talia had the deflection that led to the 2nd pick of the day for the Ducks. As we attend to this injury with 1:29 left in the 2nd quarter, Penny Hart, the freshman wide receiver, has been one of the bright spots for the Panthers offensively.
Well, this Oregon defense has a lot of respect for this guy, and we had a chance to talk to Georgia State head coach Trent Miles throughout the week. And he's blown away by what this guy's been able to do since he stepped on campus. A freshman that was overlooked in the recruiting process, didn't have many offers, ends up at Georgia State and is proving he's a playmaker and is a matchup nightmare for a lot of guys in the slot. He's done a great job catching the ball and running after the catch as well.
Should point out that in the receiving corps, Georgia State is without Donovan Harden, who projects as their #1. He's on the Bolitnikoff watch list. Also no Avery Sweeting. Both those players missing with injuries this week in Eugene. 3rd down, the full 10. Minute and a half to go in the half. Neal with a flag down. Got 3 on the play, and Oregon will decline the penalty.
Holding, 58 offense. Penalties decline, 4th down.
And so mission accomplished for Mark Helfrich and his defense. They get a 3-and-out. They will get the football back. They will use their 3rd and final timeout to make sure they have all the seconds they need for another potential scoring drive led by Lockie.
One thing to point out, this is only week 3, and Mark Helfrich is determined to find out as much as he can about his football team before they head into Pac-12 play. And situations like these makes for good situational football for a football coach. Force the punt, give your offense the ball with a little over a minute left, and see what they're able to do. Put them in situations that they're not accustomed to getting when they're in practice. Add this pressure and build character for an offense before they head into Pac-12 play.
Of course, Addison can ruin all that if he comes up with a big return. He's not been given a chance yet today, and this will be no exception. A scramble down to the 32-yard line, 1:15 left. And Addison is among the Pac-12 Players of the Week, honored on special teams for the Ducks, along with Luke Falk, who led the win at Rutgers for the Cougs. And you mentioned Utah is one of your most underrated teams in the country, maybe the most underrated in the Pac-12. Paul and the Utes will be here next week.
Play a good physical brand of football, especially on defense. Very well-coached football team with Kyle Whittingham. You meet them in Salt Lake. That's a very difficult place to play.
Tony Brooks James. He's got a gash before he's even touched.
Brooks James carries.
1st down carry. Taris Baptiste chopped him down.
Baptiste on the stop.
Give Brooks James 11 yards on the carry. Clock running, approaching a minute to go. Lockie bounces in the pocket. Brooks James tips it to himself.
Lockie with great patience on the screen pass. Looked like it was going to unfold nicely, potentially giving Brooks James the opportunity to get out of bounds. He was unable to do that, and this clock will continue to tick.
So a rush for 11, a catch for 10. He's got both touches on this drive. Lockie again looking to throw. This is Addison. He spins down at the 26-yard line. Another first down for Lockie.
Vernon Addison does a good job of finding the void in that zone after Evan Bayless stretches the linebacker and creates a throwing lane for Jeff Lockie.
From a 4-wide set, he surveys. He gets out of trouble, and he chucks it away. And he leaves 32 seconds to work with.
Essentially running the exact same play as the play before. And Lockie does a good job of getting rid of that football. In a situation like this, in 2-minute tempo, you do not want to take a sack, as they have no timeouts and they're trying to move this ball down and steal a touchdown before the end of the half.
Throws to the far sideline. Evan Bayless brings it in and make it double-digit catches, or multiple catches, I should say, rather, for Bayless in 5 straight games dating back to last season.
In 4, third down.
They feel in the absence of Pharaoh Brown that Evan Bayless has stepped in nicely and assumed a role that is very important in this Oregon offense.
Just 2 of 10 on third down so far this season. To the near side, Brooks James out of the backfield again, wrapped up very well by Antrell Allen, who broke up the would-be tying 2-point conversion attempt last week at New Mexico State to preserve that Georgia State win. Now the Ducks have to hustle. Final 10 seconds, no timeouts left. It'll be another 40-yard attempt for Aiden Schneider. The snap in plenty of time, the kick is up. And the Ducks execute. Without the benefit of a timeout, they get the unit on the field, and Schneider buries a 39-yarder.
Whether it ended up in a touchdown or a field goal, this is exactly what Mark Helfrich wanted in situational football, asking his team to move quickly and his field goal unit to get on the field and kick a field goal before the clock runs out without any timeouts. And that thing just barely makes it in to cap off an impressive drive procedurally for this Oregon offense.
Down to the field with Ashley.
JB, thank you. Mark, your thoughts on Jeff Lockie's first half performance?
Well, the offense in general, very sluggish. Defensively and on special teams, we're playing well, create a bunch of turnovers in field position and too many field goals.
Up 26 at the break. What is your message to your guys at the half?
Well, it's a defense, rinse, repeat. You know, they're playing hard and create, like I said, creating turnovers. Offensively, just a bunch of missed opportunities, but we'll get it cleaned up.
All right, Coach, thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you, Ashley. Tyree Robinson got it started with the interception return for a touchdown. A first half, the Ducks led all the way. We go to the studio, check in with Anthony Herron and our Pac-12 Network crew for the State Farm Halftime Report. Next. Ducks attempting to lead the Pac-12 in rushing for the 10th consecutive season. They are well on their way through parts of 3 games. And they will get the football to start this third quarter. Mark Helfrich less than enthusiastic about his offense's performance. You imagine he'd like to see a couple more clean drives before some of the frontline players get the rest of the afternoon off. Braylon Addison. No, it's Kirk Merritt with the return. Out across the 30. There's a scramble as if the ball was loose. No signal from the officials yet. And it will remain Oregon football. Well, Kirk Merritt is a freshman from Louisiana that they're excited about. Look for him to be in the receiving corps in the second half of this game as Jeff Lockie goes back to work in the first half. 14 of 21, 148 yards, a touchdown. It was 35 yards, and he used 7 different Ducks in the receiving game.
Well, this Oregon offense in the first half found itself with great field position and a huge advantage to move on the Georgia State defense. But as Helfrich mentioned, sluggish at times, especially through the air. He'd like to see a little more crispness, a little more efficiency, a little more accurate passing from Jeff Lockie, and I think he wants to see that these first couple possessions of the second half.
Play is under review.
We'll take another look at that kickoff return and see if Merritt's fumble was not recovered by Georgia State.
Kirk Merritt's had a little bit of time in these last 2 games, hasn't had the ball in his hands too much. Thing ends up coming loose. The question is that knee on the ground before it happens? On that angle, it's really difficult to tell.
Ed Kearney making the tackle there. He's also the Panther who came away with the football.
I think that ball comes out. If anything, he's still on top of the Georgia State player, meaning he's not on the ground. And that ball is jarred loose before his knee hits the turf. I think they might have enough to overturn this as well. This is going to be Georgia State football with good field position here to start the second half.
Everyone in the building here at Autzen is seeing that same replay you just saw, and all of the Panthers on the field right now are signaling towards their end zone as if they expect their offense to get the football.
You'll see here the right knee of Kirk Merritt not quite hitting the ground before it becomes loose. Credit Georgia State for jumping on that football and being alert and aware.
Fine work by our camera crew here today under the leadership of our producer Mark Shaw, director Mike Hassan. With Evan Moore, I'm JB Long. Ashley Adamson is on the sideline with us today. Glad you are with us to begin this quadruple header on Pac-12 Network in Week 3. Not the way that Helfrich envisioned the third quarter starting.
Yeah, Kirk Merritt, part of this elite class as a true freshman, getting a chance to get the ball in his hands and show what he can do. Coaching staff feels good about him, but unfortunate to put the ball on the ground, something you can't do as you're trying to build the confidence of the coaching staff to give you more quality opportunities going forward.
We'll give you one more look. We expect our referee, Stephen Strimling, to announce that the call on the field of down by contact will be overturned, and the Panthers, Trent Miles' reaction, expecting possession. Miles saying this program has come a long way in a short period of time. They've got an opening to begin this third quarter.
After review, the runner had fumbled the ball prior to being down and recovered by Georgia State. It's first down at the 32-yard line.
It's a good call by the officiating crew. That knee had not hit the ground and the ball comes loose. Georgia State gets on top of it. And one thing Jeff Jagodzinski's done, even throughout his other stops in college and in the NFL, is be opportunistic after turnovers. I would expect him at some point here to take a shot and take advantage of getting the ball in Oregon territory.
Nick Arbuckle, 14 of 20 through the air, 138 yards in the opening half. A couple of picks, both of them were tipped balls. He's got Kyler Neal with him in the backfield as Mark Helfrich gets an explanation before we resume.
And this Oregon defense feels like they can generate pressure on Nick Arbuckle without bringing blitzes from their linebacker. They feel like their defensive line can generate the pressure, so it's on Georgia State to hold up here and give Arbuckle time to throw the football.
He does to Rucker, and that was at his knees. It may have cost the Panthers a touchdown, and there's a flag in the backfield. Rodney Hardrick may have hit the quarterback late.
15-yard penalty, first down.
It is roughing the passer. No targeting mentioned there. So a 15-yard penalty, but this should have been 6.
Arbuckle stands in there, tries to deliver the ball. A little bit off on his footwork. But they play action initially, draws the linebackers up just enough to leave a wide open tight end for him. And the Oregon State defensive lineman unnecessarily comes in late and makes the hit. Not a smart move as it moves him forward to inside the 20.
Arbuckle again over the middle. The catch made by Todd Boyd. He's hit immediately by Jawan Williams, who forced a fumble in the first half. Let's check in with Ashley.
JB, Georgia State's first takeaway could not have come soon enough. I just talked to head coach Trent Miles, and he said, look, it's simple. We've had too many turnovers. It's hard enough to beat Oregon at Oregon. You can't spot them 7 points and then turn the ball over 3 times. That's what he told his players. He said, this is us. We're turning it over, missing tackles, putting ourselves in bad situations. We'd be playing a lot closer if we weren't shooting ourselves in the foot, JB.
Another flag flies as it looked like Tyree Robinson arrived too early in the secondary. I'll add some drop passes to the mistakes that Trent Miles mentioned to Ashley. They were a couple of catches away from keeping drives alive on third down.
Ashley said it perfectly by way of Trent Miles. This is too tough of a place to play. Don't make it harder on yourself by all the mistakes. They knew coming in it was going to take a near perfect game to compete with the Oregon Ducks. And while they've looked good at times, it's been costly mistakes that have allowed Oregon to jump out to this lead.
Meanwhile, for the Ducks, a fumble, a personal foul, and what appears to be pass interference to begin the third quarter.
Pass interference, defense number 86, holding Offense number 63. Penalties offset. Replay second down.
It appeared there were going to be multiple penalties on that play as flags flew from all different directions at the end of the play. But in Oregon's case, getting there just a bit too early on the receiver and using that off arm to wrap him up and spin him around, which is such a common occurrence in college football, and it's going to get flagged every time.
What remains a second down and 7. Arbuckle rolls, resets the pocket to the end zone. Touchdown, Panthers. Todd Boyd, the sophomore.
Outstanding throw by Nick Arbuckle, working the two-man combination on the left side and run what's called a smash route, where the inside receiver pushes about 8 to 10 yards up the field and runs to that back pylon, and they get Arbuckle on the move, and he delivers a nice ball to Todd Boyd where only Todd Boyd can catch it. And when you outflank the defense like that, you just have to hope for a bad throw because there's really no way to stop it.
Less than a minute into this third quarter, Lutz with the PAT. And Georgia State, with the benefit of a penalty, needs just 2 plays and 57 seconds to cash in. Or a fumble on a return, and they're within 33-14. Kirk Merrick fumbled the opening return of the third quarter, and Georgia State turns it into points. 33-14 our updated score. Less than a minute into the third quarter, and he will not get the chance to return this time. Will Lutz, a senior from Noonan, Georgia, will kick it away to Tony Brooks James, the return man instead. 3 yards deep in his own end zone. Dropped initially, and he brings it out. Oh, just disastrous special teams on the opening 2 returns of the second half.
Kickoff return to the 2-yard line. West 11, first and 10.
They give Brooks James a chance to return a kick. Steps out of the end zone. Indecisiveness will kill you as a kick returner. And once he does that, he panics and realizes he needs to step out of that end zone and takes a couple big hits. He's lucky he didn't cough this ball up. And these are the reasons there needs to be great communication on the back end, especially on special teams.
That knee was just about 2 inches off the end zone turf, very nearly a safety. He is the running back on this play and gets out to the 4-yard line. Shawanye Lawrence tackles him there.
It's very clear Brooks James wants to bring this out, and Braylon Addison is responsible for telling him, no, don't come out. And Brooks James gets that message a little late.
And doing his best to make amends. He's got first down yardage at the 14.
And JB, what they've done here is they've given this Georgia State sideline some energy. All 3 phases of this Georgia State football team are juiced after some of these mistakes by the Oregon defense and the Oregon special teams unit. You don't want to let these teams get back in the game after such a sizable gap in the first half.
Run off right guard again, out across the 20. 8-yard pickup on first down. Bobby Baker there for the tackle for Georgia State. And you can see it looks like Tony Brooks James is cramping, grabbing for that left hamstring. Matt Haggerty, the center, over to attend to him. And we'll step aside. 13:08 to go, third quarter. 33-14 our score. Barbasol presents Pac-12 football with the Ducks on top. Before we pick up their offensive drive, Evan wants to tell us straight the Georgia State touchdown.
Yeah, JB, let's go back to that touchdown. What they want to do is throw the ball right here, so they need to occupy this corner and keep him at the 5-yard mark. So they end up running a more shallow route with one of their receivers and taking the other receiver deeper right behind him. And Nick Arbuckle drops it in nicely for 6 points.
Tony Brooks James, the tailback for Oregon, just left with a left hamstring cramp. Taj Griffin takes his place. Lockie with time to throw downfield. And no target available. Johnny Munt, the closest Duck. Third down and 2 left.
Oregon trying to take a shot there downfield and inject this offense with a little bit of life here in the second half. Just unable to be on the same page there with his tight end.
Griffin on the ground, has the first down And he's out across the 30. Caleb Ringer brought him down. Griffin, a freshman from Georgia. His older brother Ty plays for the Ducks defensively.
First down, Ducks.
Lockie keeps it this time. Wanted to get it to Devin Allen. Incomplete, second down and 10.
You saw there on the play before, it's good to see Taj Griffin out there, a blue chip running back, waiting his turn, as is so often here at Oregon with their pipeline of recruits that come in. Coaching staff feels very, very, very good about this kid, a dynamic player that is capable of hitting the home run at any time. They're looking forward to seeing him get some snaps today and get some more experience under his belt.
There's another defensive Panther down with the clock stopped, 12:36 to go. Mackendy Cherador, redshirt sophomore defensive end, receiving attention. And Cherador unfortunately lost his father Antoine last year due to complications from diabetes in their native country of Haiti. After more than 10 years apart, this was supposed to be the season his father Antoine was finally going to see Mackendy play. Back from a season-ending knee injury suffered week 4 last season at Washington, facing another Pac-12 program on the road today. Quicken Loans brings us the upcoming schedule for the Oregon Ducks, and as we've alluded to, Pac-12 play is around the corner. A home game against Utah and then a road trip to Colorado. Evan, I think the schedule sets up really well for the reigning Pac-12 champions. They miss UCLA and Arizona out of the South. Those are really good misses. And then 5 home, 4 road breakdown. It's about as much as you can ask for from the Pac-12 schedule makers.
Certainly a very difficult conference to play in no matter who you're playing, but the midsection of their schedule is the lighter competition of the Pac-12, and it allows them to get some good experience, some of those games here at home, before they head into what most people would say are the more challenging games for them with USC and Stanford and Arizona State.
Griffin gets another carry. Wonderful blocking left side, and you can see the Jets as he's out near the 50. First down, Oregon. Caleb Ringer, another stop. 15 yards on the pickup.
Getting a chance to get Taj Griffin out in space, led by his left tackle. The guy they're looking to see a lot of today in his limited opportunities is Taj Griffin. He's going to get some chances as this game rolls on.
Lockie releases to the near side, and that's a downfield completion. Devin Allen has his first catch. Let's check in with Ashley.
JB and Evan, you guys mentioned Taj Griffin. Well, he got some touches in the game against Eastern Washington. Mark Helfrich told us yesterday he's never going to live down the fact that he got caught from behind by a couple Eastern Washington DBs. He was pulled down before the goal line on what should have been a 65-yard touchdown. Griffin said he was cold coming into that game. He was caught off guard, but he's not going to let that happen again. He's going to get another shot out there today, and I saw him trying to stay warm down on the sidelines.
Yeah, actually, it was a 61-yard fourth quarter dash. He was caught from behind and said it had never happened to him. There's no one at the high school level who can catch Griffin. Very few here in college either. Another long completion. Jalen Brown, a redshirt freshman, his first catch as a Duck. An early enrollee in the class of 2014.
Good job by Jeff Lockie delivering this football to another young guy this coaching staff was looking forward to seeing today. When you asked him a couple names, this is one of the ones that popped up. Jalen Brown, after his redshirt year, he's played very well throughout training camp and in practice. And they feel like he may get a chance here to emerge sometime soon.
They've got Addison back in. Out of the Wildcat, he's wrapped up inside the 10-yard line. Give him 5 yards on first down. Second time we've seen Addison come in and take a shotgun snap.
Braylon's been a little more quiet today than he was last week in the passing game, and credit them for trying to get one of their more dynamic playmakers involved, even if it's the Wildcat, which they'll do here again. Give him a chance to catch this Georgia State defense off guard.
Taj Griffin remains his back. He puts it in his belly. Griffin to the edge. Diving. Out at the 1. So first and goal coming for the Ducks after an 8-yard pickup.
Dangerous combination between these two guys in the backfield. This time Braylon elects to hand it off to Taj Griffin. Gets around that edge. The question is, did he step before he launched? Did his foot touch the sideline? And they're going to go ahead. Oh, they are. So we're going to get an offensive procedural penalty. I was wondering if they're going to take another look at this.
Ducks didn't give him time. They got the snap off, but first a flag.
Prior to the snap, 57 had a false start moving too soon. Prior to the enforcement, the previous ruling of out of bounds is under review.
So Doug Brenner with the penalty, and they will take another look at this. Now for the airborne ball carrier, the ball has got to come over the pylon for it to be a touchdown.
Now the question is, prior to launching, did that foot come out of bounds? Right there, which it does not. And so as he launches, now he's in bounds. Does that ball cross that goal line? And once again, I think we might get an overturn here. It looks like he was able to extend that left arm. He's not out of bounds, but does that ball cross inside that pylon? Extremely athletic play by the freshman running back. And I think his arms are up for a reason. He's going to get this. I think there's enough evidence here to overturn this and make it a touchdown.
Remember, no Thomas Tyner in the backfield for Oregon. He's lost to a preseason shoulder injury. We have not seen Kenai Benoit, another talented piece of this Oregon backfield. We'll continue to show you replays of Taj Griffin's attempts. He's an early enrollee. He continued to rehab a high school ACL injury with the Ducks as he arrived here on campus. He was only able to play the opening game of his senior prep season before that injury.
Great job of tight roping that sideline and trying to extend that football inside the pylon.
You sticking with touchdown?
Well, the rules committee has taken a little bit of a longer look at this, but I hold this as a touchdown. That ball crossed just inside that pylon, and he certainly did not step out of bounds. I think he's going to get 6 points here. Outstanding balance and athleticism. Look at him fly through the air. There's no question he wants it with those hands in the air. He was excited. He thought he had it.
As a reminder, there always has to be conclusive video evidence to overturn the call on the field, which was out of bounds inside the 1 yard line.
The spot stands.
Oregon fans here not happy about it. Apparently,
there will be no false start as the replay buzzed prior to the false start. It will be first and goal.
So no 5 yard penalty on Doug Brenner. Instead, first and goal from inside the 1. The spot stands.
The ball is placed.
Apparently there was just a shadow of a doubt on whether or not that was inside the pylon and caused the officials to stick with the ruling on the field.
Griffin sticks on the field as well. He's lined up with Lockie back in as quarterback. Ducks on the doorstep.
Snap infraction, 72 offense. 5 yard penalty, first down.
And transfer from Notre Dame, Matt Haggerty, the center.
Ducks a lot of key mistakes early here in the second half on both sides of the football. Moving them back a little bit, making this a little bit tougher for them to push this thing in the end zone. Now find themselves with even more of a loss outside the 10 yard line.
How about that run blitz from Taris Baptiste breaking into the backfield? A loss of 5.
There is Baptiste. Tackles Griffin for a 5 yard loss.
Negative plays inside the red zone make it very difficult to score. The running lanes are a lot tighter. Passing lanes are a lot tougher. Much more precision in the red zone, and negative plays make it very, very hard to overcome those challenges.
Tony Brooks James takes over in the backfield. It's Stanford already with a touchdown on the day. Got back near the 5. Third down and goal upcoming for the Ducks. And there's a flag down as Lockie was drilled.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 4. That penalty is half the distance from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
Alonzo McGee comes in here late. I think the timing is fine. He ends up making contact helmet to helmet with quarterback Jeff Lockie. Something the officials take very seriously for safety reasons. He's got to come in a little bit lower than that and not lead with his head. Ends up a costly penalty with Braylon Addison now getting a chance to put them in the end zone.
A fresh set of downs for Addison. He'll roll left. Searching for a crease and fights through one tackler. Just behind the original line of scrimmage, Trey Payne will pick up the tackle for the Panthers.
That previous play, so often guys come in a little too high on quarterbacks because they're trying to get a tip ball. And when they don't get their hands on that ball, they end up with a contact point that's a little too high, helmet to helmet. That's going to get called every time in the interest of player safety.
Addison asking Griffin back in to switch sides. Second down and goal. There's the pitch. Taj Griffin, touchdown, Ducks.
Well, Georgia State defense getting caught in a tough spot. They have sold out with a quarterback sweep, and that's why it's such a deadly combination with Braylon Addison and Taj Griffin. Pick your poison. And when they sold out on Braylon, he quickly pitches the ball to the outside to Taj Griffin, and Taj Griffin does the rest. Nobody to account for the second option in that running attack. And he walks in easily for 6 more points.
Griffin gets his first touchdown. It took a while. It took a replay. It took a second chance. But he's in the scoring column here in Eugene. Remember, that drive started on the 2-yard line after the nearly botched return. Almost cost them 2 points. The try is converted. 16 plays, 98 yards. 5 minutes and 6 seconds. That's an eternity for this Ducks offense, but it results in a touchdown and a 40-14 lead. Taj Griffin getting congratulations from the Ducks after scoring his first touchdown. 40-14, our updated score. Just under 9 minutes to go, third quarter. Week 3 of college football and the final non-conference tune-up for Oregon. Matt Logan, the junior, has showed off that big kicking leg once again here today. Just another routine touchback for Oregon special teams.
And JB, to put that drive into perspective, over a 5-minute scoring drive there, and as you see on the screen, 8 of 11 Oregon offensive touchdown drives this year have been under 3.5 minutes. This team moves very quickly, and it's uncharacteristic of them to put together a longer drive, which they did there efficiently. Ends up in 6 points, and either way, Scott Frost is happy. There's no question about that.
Loved his quote after the loss to Michigan State. Frost saying the season is not over. We are definitely going to rebound. The Ducks will fly again. We've got a comfortable lead here third quarter. Arbuckle just threw his first touchdown pass against the Ducks on the most recent drive. Time in the pocket to find his man, Robert Davis, who breaks away. Looks like Ugo Amandi's the only one with a chance, and he'll win the race. One play, and it's a 75-yard strike.
It's a slant route for Robert Davis, and Oregon unable to tackle in the secondary. Something Don Pelham talked a lot about this week. Something they need to do better is tackling guys in open space. And Arbuckle throws a nice timely ball. He's got 3 guys around him. That's inexcusable. You have to make that tackle. And Robert Davis is off to the races, and he's a guy last week that had a chance to make a couple big plays and was unable to deliver. And he got his chance there for a big play for 6 points for this Georgia State offense.
Lutz with the point after. And for the second year in a row, Robert Davis, the junior from Warner Robins, Georgia, scores against a Pac-12 team. Last year it was Washington. Today a 75-yarder against the Ducks. Georgia State began playing football in 2010, began their FBS transition in 2012, joined the Sun Belt in 2013, and now they're in their second season of full FBS eligibility. They are still within 3 scores of top 12 Oregon. The return game has been troublesome for the Ducks here in this third quarter. Let's see what happens here. And Charles Nelson will take it, and he's got a crease to the right side. Charles Nelson across midfield. Finally shoved out by Nate Simon. Lockie and the Ducks will begin in plus territory.
Well, Charles Nelson here contributing on special teams, and he's not even the deep returner. He ends up fielding a squib kick and taking it on his own. It's a good illustration of how many dynamic playmakers are on this Oregon football team as he fields that ball and gets a big return when the intent was to simply kick it to one of their shorter guys, and it ends up in really the wrong guy's hands for Georgia State.
Credit him with 51 yards on the return. Brooks James has been a popular back for the Ducks today. He dives forward for maybe a half a yard. Julian Laurent buried him. Quickly to second down. And again, it's Brooks James. Still not much running room. Carnell Hobson among the tacklers. Antrell Allen came away with the football, but the play had been blown dead. It's a gain of 3 on second down. So 3rd down and 7 remaining for Lockie inside of 8 minutes to go, third quarter. Twins stacked to each side. Panthers bring pressure over the middle. A diving catch made by Byron Marshall. That's the first of his afternoon.
Georgia State elects to bring some defensive zone pressure, forcing Jeff Lockie to manipulate the pocket just a bit and deliver the ball down the field to Byron Marshall. The great catch for a first down.
Taj Griffin back in at tailback, lined up to Lockie's right. And he's looking right. And Kirk Merritt gets a chance to redeem himself a bit after that fumble on the return to begin the third quarter. So Kirk Merritt and Jalen Brown each have their first career receptions as Ducks today. Give is to Griffin. Look at him bounce it to the outside. Taris Baptiste grabbed him by the ankle. 3rd down and short.
And as an offense, I think Mark Helfrich has to like that he's getting some good quality experience and production from guys like Kirk Merritt, Jalen Brown, and Taj Griffin here. Sort of looks you want to get these young guys some experience here early on in the season.
Griffin again. Not much there, but it should be enough to keep the drive alive. Laurent again, the sophomore from Toronto, driving the pile back. Still awaiting the spot, and it may require a measurement.
The Oregon Ducks, such a deep roster. The biggest challenge when bringing these young, talented players in is, do we want to redshirt them or do we want to play them? You don't want to burn a redshirt year if you're not going to rely on them consistently. And so early on with some of these young, true freshmen, it's important to get them the experience they need to be able to contribute in Pac-12 competition, which is exactly what Mark Helfrich is doing here today.
See, according to our first down line, the nose of the football is right there. Couple of chains left for 4th down.
Expect Oregon to go for this here. Increase their lead here in the third quarter. So effective in moving the ball on the ground. So many rushing yards here today. Expect them to keep this going here on the ground with 4th and short.
Vernon Adams held out today. Has that injured right index finger that required a cortisone shot, self-reported, before the loss to Michigan State last week. Jeff Lockie has gone the distance so far at quarterback. Brooks James, his tailback, carrying left side, looking for the marker, and with that spin move, he may have gotten past Bobby Baker to keep the drive alive.
Oregon going with a little bit of misdirection there in the backfield, getting a counter opportunity for running backs Brooks James. As he gets that guard pulling out in front of him, creating just enough space to get that first down. It was close, but credit Brooks James for keeping those legs going and pushing himself over the down marker. We have an injured player here on the field.
I've seen him cramp up already once today. He remains on his back just inside the 20-yard line. We look ahead to week 4 and conference play kicking off in earnest. Of course, Stanford and USC will get it started for us tonight. Here on the Pac-12 networks, we've got another epic day. First at 10:30. The Buffs play host to Nicholls State. Then at 2, Pac-12 North Showdown. Cal, Washington. Coverage begins with the pregame next Saturday, 9:30 on Pac-12 Network, or you can always watch using your Pac-12 Now app or at pac-12.com. You and I were talking about a big one for Cal as they go to Austin today to face the Texas Longhorns.
Big opportunity for the Cal football team to win in a tough place to play. They're the more talented team, but can they get it done on the road is the question.
So Taj Griffin and Tony Brooks James have been splitting duties in the backfield here in this second half after Royce Freeman rushed for 101 yards plus a touchdown that measured 22 yards on just 10 carries in his first half, and it looks like he'll get the second off so long as Oregon remains comfortably in front. Lockie to the end zone. Johnny Muntz Touchdown, Ducks. 16 yards on the pitch and catch.
Excellent play call by Scott Frost. He uses tight end Evan Bayless to clear out the middle of the field and brings in Johnny Munt in behind him up the seam. Creates an easy throwing lane for Jeff Lockie and a well-executed play here in the red zone for 6 more points. You'll notice here Lockie does an exceptional job of looking off that safety and creating a nice seam throwing lane for Johnny Munt.
47-21. Lockie and Muntz answer the quick strike from Georgia State. For Munt, it's his 4th career touchdown and 1st of this season. Ty Coleman there among the Ducks to greet him. He is reputed as the nicest guy on the roster. Remember that monster freshman season he had, 16 grabs, 3 scores when Colt Laerla went down. He was awarded Oregon's first-year player of the year, and then a little bit of a sophomore slump. His junior year is off to a good start. So 5:38 left, 3rd quarter. Matt Wogan to boot it away again. And no chance to return. So that was Jeff Lockie's 2nd touchdown toss of the day. Our Foster Farms play of the game takes us back to the first half, and this was a 35-yarder to Dwayne Stanford.
JB, we mentioned the tunnel screen. Great job by the right guard, Doug Brenner, getting outside, creating a running lane for Dwayne Stanford. And all this speed on the Oregon defense, give him space, that's what's going to happen. And that right guard, he didn't know that he was starting in this game until later this week. It's a great opportunity for him to showcase his skills and get out and make a block. Always got to give those big guys the attention they deserve, especially on a play like that where they spring a big run for an Oregon skill player in Dwayne Stanford.
All right, and you know that Don Pelham and the Ducks want to stop defensively after Arbuckle and the Panthers cashed in on a short field and then struck for 75 yards and a touchdown with this man, Robert Davis, on the last drive. He's diving out of bounds to make the catch at the 31. 6-yard pickup on first down.
Yeah, one thing I can promise you, JB, they don't care what the score is. They want to see some improvement on defense. Tackling and communication all second half long is what they want to see, and Don Pelham could care less what this score is. He wants to see his defense improve in those areas of the game.
DeMarcus Kirk tripped up, leaving about 2 yards on 3rd down. Reggie Daniels, UO's only returning full-time starter in the secondary, picks up a tackle. Kirk remains in the game as the tailback. A tight end to each side for Arbuckle to work with, as well as a receiver in each direction. They empty it out with Kirk in motion. Ducks bring just 3, drop 8. Here's the throw to the tight end Rucker. He puts his shoulder down out to the 45. First down, Georgia State. 12 yards on the conversion.
Georgia State making something out of nothing, not getting the look they were looking for as they motioned Kirk out of the backfield, waiting to see if they were going to get man coverage, and they didn't. They got zone. It was easy to tell pre-snap. And Nick Arbuckle makes something out of nothing and delivers the ball to his tight end for a first down.
The junior college transfer out of Pierce College in California. Did not go the JUCO route because of grades, just because of a lack of offers, but he has found his way at last to FBS football. Short play clock. They put it on the ground. And out across midfield. Arian Springs in on the tackle. DeMarcus Kirk with a 7-yard gain on first down.
DeMarcus Kirk, a good example of what this program has done to build a stable roster. A UAB transfer after UAB got rid of their football program. He's one of 6 guys on this football team that played for UAB prior to their cancellation of their football program, and they're happy to have him as all these guys have integrated themselves well into what they're doing offensively.
Quick throw down the line. Todd Boyd on the receiving end. Christian French with the tackle. 5 transfers from UAB, another handful of true freshmen seeing action. Ashley mentioned it off the start of our broadcast. This is a program that just opened up their very own weight room for the first time a couple weeks ago. They were awestruck as they toured the facilities here in Eugene. Arbuckle a deep drop, hit as he throws. A late flag flies, pass incomplete.
Pass is incomplete. Penalty flag on the field.
Holding. 56 offense. 10-yard penalty. Replay.
It's a right guard, Alex Storr.
JB, you mentioned being a young program, things that they're going to do to fill out their roster. In addition to the UAB transfers, several junior college guys, but Trent Miles is quick to say, not your typical junior college guys. We went and found the right guys for this program that would help us balance out our classes. He said had they not done that, they might only have 6 guys in their senior class, and they didn't want to do that. So they went and found some quality junior college players to help balance out those classes and make this a complete team from top to bottom.
First down and long. Across the middle, Joel Ruiz. Back into Oregon territory, leaving just 3 yards left to pick up. Ruiz is a talented 5th-year tight end.
Don Pelham had a lot of good things to say about this tight end. More of a receiver type, but a very good route runner. Uses his hands to catch the ball consistently as opposed to letting that ball come into his body. And he's a good weapon for him. They use him in a lot of different ways in the middle of the field. It's been a big advantage for this Georgia State offense. I expect them to use him a little more today than they already have.
After a gain of 17, they need 3. Rodney Hardrick is having none of that. You know, Hardrick declined all interviews with the media last season. He's finally come around at his parents' request. Rodney and Teresa probably watching
Personal
today.
Foul, face mask. Defense number 48. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
They wanted to see him more often. They wanted to see him on TV and doing interviews. They probably didn't want to see him picking up a face mask.
Yeah, a very experienced guy with 30 career starts, most on the team. Good run stuffer that commands the defense and helps these guys out as really their leader on that side of the ball.
So on the penalty, the ball now spotted at the 20-yard line. First down, Georgia State. Looking for their 3rd touchdown of this 3rd quarter. Robert Davis in motion. He has one of those touchdown grabs. Arbuckle escapes Hardrick and throws it away.
Arbuckle's pass out of bounds, incomplete.
Arbuckle trying to take advantage of a flood concept to the left side of the field with 3 receivers running at 3 different levels of depth to get open for him. And in the process of moving, Oregon disrupts that with their pass rush, which really helps out their secondary, as we alluded to earlier. The ability to generate a pass rush up front and disrupt the timing of Nick Arbuckle is big for this secondary, so they don't have to worry about him having time to sit back there and pick them apart.
2-minute mark, 3rd quarter. 2nd down and 10 and 4 wide in formation for Nick Arbuckle. Oregon shows blitz, then drops off. Rushing just 3. They got there anyways. Arbuckle complete at the 5. Ugo Amadi made the tackle.
And JB, this is what's called the scramble drill. As soon as he realizes he doesn't have anything in the pocket, he's going to scramble. Now, a lot of this is on his wide receivers to realize what he's doing when he's scrambling and get open as a result of that. And his receiver on that play does just that, giving his defender a little bit of a move to create a throwing lane for Nick Arbuckle as Nick was improvising outside the pocket. But so important for the receivers to be on the same page, and that's something they work on pretty much every day in what they call the scramble drill.
Tavius Andrews with his first catch to set up 1st and goal, and Rucker's going to walk in. Georgia State has found some 3rd quarter traction.
Another good play call, utilizing a crossing concept to cause just enough disruption for those linebackers to stay with a motioning tight end. And there, Rucker is able to outflank his defender as a result of just a little bit of a delay, causing the defender to stop his feet. Easy toss and catch for Nick Arbuckle for 6 more points.
Let's begin.
What's on for the point after? And with 1:20 remaining in the 3rd quarter, the Panthers playing the Ducks tough in the 2nd half. 9 plays, 75 yards, eclipsing 4 minutes and 18 seconds. And Rutger, for the second year in a row, has hauled in a touchdown in a Pac-12 barn.
One thing we've discussed on several occasions here is this is a Georgia State coaching staff with an impressive group of resumes. And you're seeing it play out here today offensively, a very complex system, very sophisticated in Jeff Jagodzinski, drawing up things to create matchups for his running backs, his tight ends, and his receivers. And he's done that pretty well today with 28 points here through 3 quarters and a lot of yards through the air. Just something they've been able to do all year long. And you wondered if they could do it here in Eugene against Pac-12 competition, but Oregon's secondary is proving not to stop them too well either, though.
You mentioned Jeff Jagodzinski. That name's probably familiar to football fans. The former Boston College head coach helped groom Matt Ryan and then interviewed with the Jets after just 2 seasons against the wishes of his athletic director and was promptly fired. So he caught on with the Tampa Bay Bucks briefly, but was relieved of his duties during the preseason and eventually found his way to Georgia State. So Oregon still can't shake free of Georgia State. 47-28 our new score. This kick popped up short and taken at the 24-yard line. Again, it's Nelson, and it's blown dead before he's taken to the turf. Is there a fair catch signaled? Believe there was. So the ball spotted at the 26. Here's what the Panthers have done, capitalizing off miscues by Oregon to get 3 touchdowns.
One thing we talked about earlier on, JB, is if Georgia State falls behind, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. We thought at least 50 times today if they weren't able to get any kind of a lead. They haven't been able to. And Nick Arbuckle has utilized a litany of different weapons to try to get the ball down the field. And credit his arm, but also just some of the play calling from Jagodzinski and putting his guys in positions to be successful. And as you see here, a lot of easy pitches and catches as a result of some of the scheme advantages they have on that side of the ball.
Lockie connects with Jalen Brown to begin a new drive. Lockie has completed 22 now of his 30 passes on the day. Well over 200 yards, couple of scores, has not been intercepted. 8 yards on the pickup, a minute to go third quarter, 2 left on second down. And this is Griffin. Makes his shake in the hole, picks up the first down. Joe Peterson gets a tackle, the senior linebacker who defensive coordinator Jesse Minter says flat out our best football player. First down carry for Griffin. Waiting for his blockers to arrive. And he grabs 4 on first down.
Griffin over the left side, 3-4. Shalane Lawrence on the tackle.
Freeman got 10 carries in the first half. Taj Griffin now with 11 for 53 yards and a touchdown. This is Nelson. They're blocking out on the perimeter. He's 2 yards shy of the line to get. Third down upcoming, final seconds, third quarter. See if Lockie wants to hurry or if he'll wait to switch ends. Final play, third quarter. And it's Griffin spun down behind the line. Alonzo McGee breaking through. So shy of midfield, the Ducks have a decision to make when we come back to Autzen Stadium. A 47-28 lead after 3.
Oregon Community Credit Union.
A 72-degree Saturday afternoon in Eugene, back inside Autzen Stadium where the Ducks elect to punt on 4th down and 3. A whistle and a flag before that kick.
Ball start. Kicking team number 2. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
After 3, they've got a 3-score lead on Georgia State. The Panthers will have the football and a chance to cut into it to open this 4th quarter. After they mark off the penalty, Ian Wheeler with Penny Hart waiting in the return game. He's been the leading receiving target for the Panthers today. A short kick that will bounce inside the 30 and take an Oregon roll inside the 15. That worked out well. All the way inside the 10. But Georgia State will have the football and a chance to cut into a 47-28 deficit. Back in Eugene as Barbasol presents Pac-12 football. Georgia State with the football, trying to cut into Oregon's 47-28 lead. The Ducks at 1-1 on the season. Their final non-conference tune-up before Utah arrives next Saturday for the Pac-12 opener. The Utes currently 2-0. They go to Fresno tonight. What a game that was last year in Sac Lake City. Joe Walker with that heads-up fumble return to shift the tide of that game. First, they have to contend with the Panthers in this fourth quarter. They open their drive from just inside the 10-yard line. Nick Arbuckle has been solid. Both of his interceptions were tipped balls. Coleman, the pressure from the edge, and it arrives from the other end. DeForest Buckner gets the sack and a loss of 6.
DeForest Buckner wrecking shop just like Mark Helfrich had predicted. And Nick Arbuckle got the man coverage he was looking for. But Oregon was able to get enough pressure on him and not allow him to get the ball down the field. As he's liked his matchups all day long on the outside, but this is the best form of that kind of defense, is get to him quickly and don't allow him to let that ball out. And DeForest Buckner does just that on that play.
28th career start here today. Arbuckle from his own end zone. Gets it out quickly on the slant. It's caught. Let's go to San Francisco and check in with Anthony.
Thanks a lot, JB. We've got Mr. Jake Browning out there at Husky Stadium warming up where they're a few minutes away from kickoff at Washington. Those of you watching on Pac-12 Washington and Pac-12 Mountain will be leaving this game soon to see Utah State at Washington. We'll bring the rest of you there right after the Oregon game ends. A reminder that both games can be seen on our Pac-12 Now app and pac-12.com.
Thanks, Big Ant. 3rd down and 7 here. Penny Hart with the catch and the conversion. A freshman wideout out across the 30.
Such an impressive player in the slot. Pushes up and runs the basic crossing route over the middle of the field, and with his speed is able to get up the field for the first down. And Trent Miles has to love the energy and confidence with which this offense is playing, due in large part to last week setting the best performance in school history against New Mexico State. 582 yards of offense last week, and they are rolling as well in this game, much to the dismay of defensive coordinator Don Pelham here at Oregon.
See DeMarcus Kirk, the redshirt freshman, back, standing behind Nick Arbuckle in the pistol. They hand it off to him with a lead blocker, Rucker. Look at this. Into Oregon territory, DeMarcus Kirk. 20 big ones.
Communication so key for this Oregon defense. Things have broken down quite a bit over the first 2 weeks of the season, and once again, a big running lane for DeMarcus Kirk. And another big play for this Georgia State offense as they push this ball down the field.
First down from the 48. Arbuckle the hitch. No option, so he tucks it and runs. His knee hit the ground after a gain of just 1. Arbuckle out of St. Bonaventure High School in California. We mentioned he didn't go to the JC route because of academics, only because of a lack of other offers. Football junkie, arrives early, stays late, takes recruits to the gym and to the film room rather than downtown Atlanta, we're told. He's had a good showing against this Ducks defense. 2nd down. Buckner again got a piece of him, but there's a Panther free behind the D, and Todd Boyd nearly broke a big one.
Probably caused the Hard to skip a beat of Don Pelham as Arbuckle is able to escape pressure and stand in there and deliver the football. Overthrows him a little bit, but they had him down the field. Exactly what they're looking for, another opportunity for a big play.
Now can Don Pelham's D get off the field here on 3rd down and 8? Arbuckle. Dragged down from behind. Ty Coleman. And the ball is loose. Joe Walker will scoop, and Joe Walker will score.
Arbuckle all game long has shown a unique ability to get away from pressure in the pocket. Very elusive as he manipulates the pocket. This time ends up getting pulled down from behind. And the question is, does this ball pop loose before he hits the ground? The official says yes. And that's a scoop and score for Joe Walker. I think we're going to take another look at this to make sure that he wasn't down prior to letting go of that football. And that ball is out before he hits the ground. and confirms what just happened there with Joe Walker on the scoop and score.
Coming out, if not completely loose, 48 yards on the play. And we had just mentioned the fact that he picked up the ball in Salt Lake City and returned it more than 100 yards. With the Utes coming to town, on cue, Walker has done it again.
And the Achilles heel all day for this Georgia State offense is, in certain situations, their inability to protect Arbuckle, because they've shown if they do protect him, he's efficient in getting that ball down the field. But in this case, as he tries to escape the pocket, pulled down from behind, and that ball's jarred loose just slightly before that knee comes down and hits the ground. And there certainly isn't enough evidence to overturn that. Or another Oregon defensive touchdown. As we mentioned, a very opportunistic defense, especially in spurts. And while Don Pelham's happy about that, I think he'd like to see some more consistency between first and third down.
Autzen Stadium crowd celebrating the confirmation of that call. Once again, credit Ty Coleman with that forced fumble. That was a mistake Arbuckle and the Panthers could not afford, and it's probably the dagger in their day here in Eugene. Aiden Schneider back on to kick the PAT. He's got field goals of 26, 40, and 40 today, and has drilled all of his point-after tries as well. 54-28 after the fourth Panthers turnover of the day. We talked about that special night in Salt Lake City for Oregon a season ago, on which they clinched the Pac-12 North. Here it was. Kalen Clay, avert your eyes.
So often players deciding to celebrate before they get into the end zone, and Joe Walker, being the aware veteran presence that he is, picks up that football and realizes, hey, he hadn't crossed the goal line. Probably one of the more unique scoring opportunities he'll ever have in his career. Turned out to be a big game changer in that game. That's a 14-point swing. Led to an Oregon victory out in Salt Lake City.
Now that night, Kendall Thompson, the Utah quarterback, was injured. He was replaced by Travis Wilson. This time around, Wilson is having some injury trouble, and so we'll see what the quarterback situation is next week for both programs. Not just Utah, but Vernon Adams sitting out today for the Ducks as well. So 54-28, have the Ducks finally put this one out of reach. Kicks comes down at the goal line. But not much running opportunity for Marquand Green and the Panthers off of kickoffs today. 23 yards this time, and he gives the ball back to his offense at the 24.
I think one of the most satisfying things of the day for Mark Helfrich is getting some of these guys the reps that he was looking to get them. Taj Griffin, Jalen Brown, Kirk Merritt, getting these guys a chance to get good quality, meaningful reps in a college football game as they build to become the players they want them to become.
DeMarcus Kirk, the back with Arbuckle. He picks his way, first down.
Marcus Mariota.
Canton Kamatule gets a tackle. He's a freshman, one of 7 true freshmen that have played so far this season for the Oregon Ducks. Second down, 6. They throw it out left, and it's dropped. A tough ball to handle. Looked like Christian French was there in coverage regardless. So third down and 6 left for Arbuckle, just outside 11 minutes to go.
Third down 6 at the 28.
Anthony Herron in our San Francisco studios. Kickoff is moments away at Washington. Viewers watching on Pac-12 Washington and Pac-12 Mountain will be leaving momentarily to see Utah State at Washington. These viewers can continue watching Georgia State at Oregon by tuning in on Pac-12 Network, logging in on our Pac-12 Now app, or pac-12.com. For all remaining viewers, we'll bring you to the Washington game immediately following the conclusion at Oregon.
So the Oregon defense, after scooping and scoring, gets off the field. And with a 54-28 lead, the Autzen Stadium crowd might finally be able to relax and feel like they can look ahead to Pac-12 play.
Key mistakes today for this Georgia State unit. Puts them in a lot of tough spots. able to do some good things offensively at times. Ultimately, Oregon just a little bit too much for this team down the stretch here.
Braylon Addison has been so threatening in the return game that he hasn't gotten anything higher than 5 yards off the field to return. Downed inside the 10-yard line.
52 yards on the kick.
Joe Walker, the senior linebacker, picks it up and takes it back. 54-28, Oregon over Georgia State. Jeff Lockie on the left, Vernon Adams on the right. Adams unable to start today, so Jeff Lockie got the nod for the first time in his career. And his day is done. 23 of 31 for 228 and 2 scores. Taj Griffin gets the carry, and he's out across the 10-yard line. 1 yard pickup as Taylor Alley, the Eugene native from Sheldon High, gets into the game early in this fourth quarter.
Second down 9 at the 10.
Very impressive the way Oregon's run the football today. A team of balance since 2010. 441 touchdowns, 224 of them on the ground. Known for all their speed, but they sure do run the football well, very consistently.
Griffin working against the grain. Slammed to the turf, out at the 13-yard line. And for those of you looking for Utah State and Washington, that game is available right now on Pac-12 Washington Mountain, your Pac-12 Now app, and always at pac-12.com. So Washington Mountain, Pac-12 Now, or pac-12.com if you're looking for game 2 of our quadruple header, Utah State and UW. Alley will keep it. Look at this lane. Taylor Alley needs one more block. Stanford gives it to him. The Eugene native in for 6.
As has become the pattern today, Oregon getting a chance to use their young players on a consistent basis. And Mark Helfrich has to be happy allowing these guys to get confidence in this system and make plays in a live game with live bullets. And it becomes very clear their young stable of talent doesn't drop off from what normally plays. Taylor Ali showing his speed, getting on the outside for a big touchdown for the young guy. And this sideline of the Oregon Ducks is electric as they bowl for all their young guys that are able to get out there today and make some plays. Very impressive run and speed in the open field.
Helfrich saying he's a bit faster than you think, a bit more elusive than you think. I'm going to have to correct the head coach. He's a lot more of those things than I thought. 87 yards by today's third-string quarterback. Mark Helfrich's smile tells you all you need to know about that moment for the Sheldon High product.
87-yard run.
And credit Ali for coming in, realizing how to execute this play, probably off limited reps in practice, and sees that backside defensive end fold on the option play. Keeps it to himself, and he's off to the races.
91 yards and 3 plays for the Ducks.
Something he'll never forget here in his young career. Such a big play and run.
Georgia State 28.
In limited opportunities, you want your guys to be successful, albeit not necessarily that successful. You can't necessarily expect that. You want them to execute in the small amount of time they get in games like these. And he does just that with his limited opportunities. Outstanding job.
Back to receive the kickoff by Matt Wogan.
What a great way to cap the day here at Autzen Stadium. The Ducks are north of 60 again. Wogan's getting a workout, as is so often the case. Glenn Smith out to the 20. Let's check in with Anthony Herron.
JB, they're just kicking the game off at Husky Stadium. And a reminder, we're going to get you to Utah State at Washington immediately after this game ends. You can begin watching Utah State at Washington on Pac-12 Washington, our Pac-12 Now app, or pac-12.com.
All right, Big Ant, thanks for that reminder. 9:25 left to go here, fourth quarter.
A lot of people might refer to these times as garbage time, but if you're a coach in Mark Helfrich, this is program building time. Give your young guys a chance to get out there and do their thing. As Georgia State marches out here with a new quarterback in Scaife, I think Arbuckle's day is done.
Amir Scaife is a redshirt freshman from Charlotte. They regard him as the most talented quarterback they have. Excited about his future. He was injured as a senior in high school, and so most of his big offers wanted him to gray shirt, chose to go to Georgia State instead. And he's the heir apparent to Nick Arbuckle. Bill Technip, a reserve tight end, in motion there. Look out from behind. He gets the throw away as Ivan Fallhaber arrived. Another Eugene Sheldon High product.
Third down 8.
So with Scaife on, let's close the book on Arbuckle. 25 of 35, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Costly mistakes at the wrong time, but overall Nick Arbuckle doing most of what he did the first 2 weeks of the season. Being very efficient as a passer and showing good accuracy to run this offense. It is put together nicely by Jeff Jagodzinski. A lot of success at times today.
False start, offense, number 58. 5-yard penalty, third down.
And so the Panthers will be behind the chains on third down. Scaife needs the 30-yard line on this third down snap. Good pocket to throw from. The pressure arrives late. Johnny Reagan III drilled the quarterback, and in the secondary, 2 flags arrive.
Jawan Williams and Ty Griffin getting there a little early for what is likely a defensive pass interference call.
Pass interference, defense number 17. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul, first down.
That is Jawan Williams, who forced a fumble in our first half.
Another example of some young Oregon Ducks getting a chance to be on the field. Losing his footing, falling down on the receiver prior to the ball getting there, and Jawan Williams.
So that was the break that the Panthers needed to extend this drive. First down. Marcus Caffey. Cody Carragher, a redshirt junior linebacker from Montana, with the tackle.
Another guy involved in that last play was Ty Griffin, another young guy they're anxious to see get some time. A transfer from Georgia Tech, was a former option quarterback, and they feel like he's got a high ceiling. Just needs to get more comfortable at that position and continue to get more experience. They feel like he could be great at some point if he continues to develop.
Scaife hands off again. A couple of nice moves there by Marcus Caffey. He's got first down yardage at the 41. A gain of 6.
Marcus Caffey's a guy we haven't seen as much of today. Fumbled last week. There were some trust issues on behalf of the offensive staff of Georgia State. Those fumbles do funny things to coaches. Make him a little antsy and skittish about using you again. We haven't seen much of him here today, but he's getting an opportunity here late in the game.
Scaife this time pulls it out, and he turns the corner. And he bowls over Griffin. Amir Scaife has arrived for Georgia State. 19 yards.
Amir Scaife not even realizing maybe he's supposed to get down as a quarterback, and giving Ty Griffin a nice little welcome to the secondary. Bowls that shoulder down and runs over him. Amir Scaife, a big physical guy at 6'2", 218. Gets the extra yards, proves he's not out there to just get through the game. That's a physical run, very impressive.
Caffey wrapped up at the line of scrimmage this time. How about the name Canton for a football player? Canton Kamatule. His brother Luke, a senior at Stanford. Freshman on the defensive line. There he is, 6'7", 295, an early enrollee. Top prospect out of Hawaii in last year's class. Consensus 5-star recruit.
Another young guy, blue chip recruit, big talent that they want to see get some time, and he's getting that here today to build on what they know he's able to do.
Scaife now to the air, if he gets the chance. Johnny Reagan III spun him down. Third down upcoming for Georgia State.
On the keeper, thrown down by Johnny Reagan III.
Johnny Reagan, the nickelback, the Cal transfer. Played in 14 games for the Ducks last year. Good presence for them at the linebacker position against that nickel personnel, and they want to get a little more speed on the field.
Good look at Fall Harbor there with 3rd down and 9 upcoming. Scaife puts his head down and goes. Got a block, got a first down. Baseball slide to the 21.
This time he elects to get down. Maybe rethinking his decision to bowl over the guy last time, but this time surrounded by yellow jerseys. Smartly elects to get down and preserve himself for the next play. A fresh new set of downs.
Counting down inside at 6 to go. Scaife leading this drive for the Panthers. Marcus Caffey. Ty Griffin slammed him down. And if you're looking for UW and Utah State, game 2 of our quadruple header today on Pac-12 Network, that game is currently airing on Pac-12 Washington Mountain, your Pac-12 Now app, and pac-12.com. Utah State and Washington underway in Seattle. Here in Eugene, 2nd down and 2 for the Georgia State Panthers. And Caffey forging his way ahead to the 11. 1st down for the visitors.
Jumps on the stop after a gain of 4.
This is a team preseason picked 9th out of 11 teams in the Sun Belt. But guess where head coach Trent Miles voted his group? Top 3. Georgia Southern is the number 1 team in that league. And I think based on what they've put on tape last week and again here today, they validated his confidence.
There's no question, JB. This is a team that's done a lot of impressive things here today. And while we don't get to watch the Sun Belt play every single week, I would imagine they're going to find a way to get some wins this year after getting their first in program history in the Sun Belt last week against New Mexico State. There's a lot of things here today that Trent Miles should be very encouraged about and trying to get his team to get more wins in conference. Certainly a lot of talent on both sides of the football, and when utilized correctly and limiting mistakes, this is a team that can win a number of football games this year if they can just clean up some of the mistakes that put them at such a disadvantage early on in the game.
2nd down and 10. Scaife to the end zone behind Ari Wirtz, a reserve tight end who's making a late appearance.
Incomplete.
Well, unfortunately, he had more than one option to throw to and came up a little bit surprised at having 2 guys running down the middle of the field wide open. Might have been a little bit of indecisiveness in trying to figure out who he was going to throw to. Ends up throwing in the middle of them instead of to one of them for an incomplete pass.
Shotgun snap. Gets it away as he's hit. Again, the tight end was his target. No flags. 3rd down and 10.
Well, one thing Georgia State with these tight ends is double moves. In this case, they push the tight end up 5 yards, give him a quick look to the outside, and then up the seam. Unable to complete that play. Usually they'll do that with their starter, Ruiz, but in this case, unable to get it done.
An Otson ovation for this Oregon defense. They want to see one more big stand. 4:27 left, 4th down and 10 for Georgia State. They bring 5. Scaife incomplete. The Ducks D is off the field. 4:22 left. Here in Eugene, Oregon on its way to 2-1. Marcus Mariota's Heisman display here in Eugene, centered around the theme of 8s. It's on top of 8 layers, 8 Hawaiian Islands represented on the floor. Stainless steel finish. The number 8 finish, we're told. Mariota's Heisman Trophy just steps away from Autzen Stadium. And number 8, a popular one, still in the stands today and probably always. 61-28, Oregon in front.
Certainly the least they can do to pay respect to the most prolific player in school history, no question.
Let's go down to the sideline and check in with Ashley for more on Mariota.
Yeah, JB, you know, I saw a few Tennessee Titans jerseys on Ducks fans on the way in, and why not? Oregon fans so proud of their Heisman-winning quarterback. He had a stunning NFL debut just this past Sunday. He became the first rookie to throw 4 touchdown passes and a half. He finished with a perfect passer rating as the Titans blew out Jameis Winston and the Bucks in Tampa Bay. Now, Scott Frost told us yesterday he's so happy for his former quarterback, said we always believed Marcus would be great at the next level. And it's gratifying that everyone else who questioned that got to see a taste of what he's capable of. Frost said he talks with Marcus every week, said he's loving it. Only thing he misses, the camaraderie in the locker room. Apparently a little different in the NFL than it was here in Eugene, JB.
Well, thank you, Ashley. As you see there, the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Not bad for his debut.
Yes, typically when you see a young guy pull to the end of the third quarter in a regular season NFL football game, it's not a good thing. But in this case, things were going so well for the Tennessee Titans and Marcus Mariota, they decided to give him the rest of the day off. Very impressive debut for the young quarterback.
J.J. Jones has been the back for the Ducks on this drive. We saw Royce Freeman rush for 101 yards and a touchdown in the first half. Then Tony Brooks James and Taj Griffin split carries in the second half. We have not seen Kenai Benoit, redshirt sophomore from Phoenix. But let's talk a little bit about quarterbacks here before our time is done, Evan. Jeff Lockie gets the start today in place of Vernon Adams. Lockie goes 23 of 31 for 228, 2 touchdowns, and no turnovers. If and when they need to use him in Pac-12 play, is he ready to win them some games?
Well, I think there's no question they got to be happy about the no turnovers. Want a guy that's going to take care of the football. However, early on, I'd say there was a little bit of anxiety on his end and the coaching staff trying to help him out a little bit, not asking him to do too much throwing the ball down the field. Now the question becomes, in each play, was there an option downfield, but he chose to throw for the shorter stuff, or is it something the coaching staff was doing to allow him to get more comfortable given his lack of experience with game reps? But this experience today here is only going to help him as they hit Pac-12 play, because if they decide to go with him, if Vernon Adams is ever unavailable, he's going to need to draw on this experience and some of the success he's had today.
You may have just heard the announced attendance of better than 56,000 today in Eugene. 105th consecutive sellout at Autzen, home of the nation's 3rd longest streak. Allie will just take a knee there and avoid more trouble. 4th down upcoming, inside 2 minutes to go. If you're tuning in and looking for Utah State at Washington, before we get you there, here are your options. Pac-12 Washington, Pac-12 Mountain. Get that app, Pac-12 Now, or you can check out pac-12.com as well. Scoreless in Seattle, and we will head up I-5 as soon as we put the finishing touches on this Oregon victory.
More on Jeff Lockie. You have a roster full of Oregon guys that are very, very comfortable with him as their guy. And going out there today and leading him to victory, regardless of who it's against, is important, as he confirms a lot of the things that this team feels about him from a preparation standpoint and from a leadership standpoint.
Punt rolls dead at the 37. 49 seconds left to drain as Lockie and the Ducks look ahead to next weekend, the Pac-12 opener against Utah. Remember their schedule, they miss UCLA and Arizona out of the South. 5 home league games, just 4 road trips. Utah currently undefeated 2-0 with a home win over Michigan. They go to Fresno tonight. Mark Helfrich closing in on his 42nd birthday, upcoming in October. Get his 26th victory as head coach of the Ducks here today. Georgia State, meanwhile, has a bye next week, and then they will host Liberty. Remember, they just picked up their first win over an FBS program, first road win under Trent Miles last week.
JB, you mentioned Mark Helfrich and his 26th victory here. One of the best starts in conference history for a head coach. And like we mentioned earlier, his reaction to that would say, hey, it wasn't me. It's an us thing. This is a group thing here that we do, and we have a lot of continuity with our coaching staff. And very impressively, defers the credit to some of the others involved in this organization. Mark Helfrich, one of the favorite of other people in this industry. Very, very, very good guy.
61-28, number 12 Oregon defeats Georgia State. They did so without the services of Vernon Adams Jr., their senior transfer at quarterback. He was termed a game-time decision today against the Panthers. Head coach able to give Adams a rest and Jeff Lockie some time to shine.
Yeah, Jeff Lockie provided the spark that they were hoping he would give with the unavailability of Vernon Adams. A great job for the most part, getting the ball out quickly and allowing his speed to hit the perimeter and get up the field, a staple of this Oregon offense. Given his experience, you think back to the spring, all the reports coming out of Eugene were that he might be our starter this year, depending on what Vernon Adams is able to do when he comes in. And although he didn't start the first 2 games, he has shown this coaching staff over the last couple of years his ability to step in when his chance finally comes. And today it did. And he's well deserving of an opportunity here today, and a big victory here for the Oregon team. Put a lot of
Final stats in his first start: 23 of 31, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 61-28 victory. For Evan, I'm JB, our producer Mark Shaw, director Mike Hassan, and Ashley Adamson on the sideline. Let's keep it going. A big day of Pac-12 football here on the network. Up to Seattle next.